Do you want us to keep the first player token? Like.
Alright, so
Sure.
we are here from Varberg, Morghulis,
This is a spot for
looking at the final of Varberg Morghulis Road Starlek tournament. My name is Victor Edström. With me today,
I'm Ben Fox, and we'll bring you the final game where we have Hungary's Tamas taking on Sweden's very own Jakob.
well, yes, and they're playing the Night's Watch deck that we got to see on the stream a couple of times yesterday.
The White Walker is the first player token.
The White Walker is the first play token, and the White Walker isn't really visible right now, obviously, because no one's got initiative yet. Tamas is considering his setup there, it looks like.
We're experiencing minor technical issues in reviewing the player's hands. If you please hold a minute. We'll see if we can resolve those. But for now, we see Tamas' journey continue to take on the Lannisters. We just saw them take out Sweden's second best player in the semi-finals, right here. So he's really running the full gauntlet of the Swedish experience to prove himself as the number one in Varberg. If you look on the right-hand side, on the Great Beards of Westeros playmat, you can also see the House Lannister card that was given out at Varberg Morghulis itself. So we've got Jakob representing the local meta on every level.
So we have a really good setup from Tamas there, two birds and Banyan, whereas it's a decent setup from Jakob, I suppose. No econ.
Space för byta. Preview. Go live. 2.
Funkar det nu?
Ja. Du måste trycka 1 space, 3 space, 2 space.
Alright, so we've got issue with the cameras fixed here.
So I think even though the setup from Jakob doesn't look too intimidating, and he's actually going to get significant value on the Grand Maestro Pycelle. I saw this deck in practice yesterday evening, and this is one of the famous Lannister jumper decks. So we're going to be seeing I Never Bet Against My Family, we're going to be seeing Here I Roar, and with that, having the insight on the board from turn 1 is something that is quite relevant.
Of course, card draw can be somewhat of an issue where in Lannister when you're not playing all those locations, and Jakob isn't playing the core set locations to the same extent that the regular jumper decks might have been doing. So, of course, Pycelle could be a key to his draw.
Yeah, and for himself, he has to be able to refresh it. Because the one drawback with the Kings of Winter is that not only are they trying to drain their opponent's hand, but they're also drawing themselves back with that reserve limitation. So even with the classic opening of the race in their midst, he will only be able to keep 4 cards back for himself.
Yes.
And in this situation with Tamas' opening of counting coppers, he's really protecting himself quite well against this Kings of Winter threat.
Yeah, and Tamas is probably not playing counting coppers now so much for the draw as for the big reserve number, because he is expecting this play from Jakob.
It's something that he's already seen from the Kings of Winter in the top 8. It's something that he saw in the actual Swiss rounds themselves. So I think it's definitely a powerful move, especially when he doesn't feel particularly far behind in the setup right now.
Definitely not. So Tyrion is obviously a key as well to fueling the economy for the jumping cards, especially with the Burnmen and Gold Cloaks. 2 gold is exactly the target number to be able to jump them in when you need them.
I think here it's not even so much the Burnt Man and the Gold Cloaks. The big thing we already saw put to the sword in Jakob's hand.
Yeah.
And with something like I Never Bet Against My Family, that can really come out of nowhere.
Exactly.
So even with very little gold, you're suddenly facing a really significant threat. It's something I saw from Andreas in Paris, starting up with the counting coppers and then completely demolishing the board with seemingly no resources.
It's what that does. Now, Tamas has got his Old Forest Hunter out, which is also a key to his deck, and seeing how he draw a lot of cards, he is now able to turn that into economy. And Tamas does that as good as well as it's possibly possible to do.
I think that's very accurate. So in this situation, he's got his 6th reserve that he's going to be playing around. He knows exactly how many cards he's able to keep in hand, so it's going to be a matter of using those as efficiently as possible. It's a bit unfortunate for him that he didn't have the Old Forest Hunter in setup, because then he could have flown the turn all the way.
Yeah, two more action windows to use him. Now he's only with the one action window in marshalling, and then again in the late phases. Challenges, obviously, and then the late phases.
A King's Road for Sam, is that unusual?
I would say, but again, why not? Why not? The reserve, it's not going to stick anyway, and he gets 2 cards out there with the dupe. It might be worth it. It's not optimal, obviously.
Sneaking through for intrigue. Yeah. It's just an interesting move, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it develops from here, considering we've already seen Amon in hand for Tamas. Not only did he give up the 1 gold, but the ability to put the Amon on the board early.
Well, he's got the Maester plot, so he can get Amon out anyway, and he doesn't have any other expensive characters. Ben's already on the table, so I don't see it as a particularly strange play anyway, especially not with the situations he's in. He's got the draw with 2 birds on the table. Well, yeah, why not?
Excellent.
Yeah, he's in a good place here, and Jakob has some catching up to do, I'd say.
Yeah, and really the milk of the puppy on Tyrion is something that's going to be quite important this early on.
Yeah, Jakob was probably relying on that, and now he can't use any of those cards that he was hoping to be able to use, probably.
Yeah, and there once again we see Varys coming out of the winter deck, which is a really powerful move once you've drained your opponent's board. And this is where the duplicates once again for Tamas are going to come into it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be using those to try and survive not only that, but also perhaps the first snow of winter turn, and just making sure he's not giving Jakob value on that play.
Exactly. Looking to remain in tempo and keep this kind of a flow that will hamper Jakob's play. Jakob is much more of a his deck has more of a controlly style, and as long as Tamas can keep his deck functioning, Jakob won't be able to take a grip of the game.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to see Kings of Winter used perhaps as a small measure of control. Because looking at a deck like Jakob's, you have to ask yourself, what is the true value of the Kings of Winter? How many winter plots is he going to be running, and how much is the 1 gold reduction for your opponent going to prove impactful? Because he doesn't have the option to run Meager Contribution or the White Tree and the other frequent allies we saw from the actual winter decks.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'd say that Tamas's deck, as we've seen it perform, it's a tempo deck more than anything. It's not actually rushing, it's just keeping a steady tempo.
Yeah, but we already see him on a 3 power from turn 1, and we saw that in prioritization of challenges, where he could have taken military claim and reduced Jakob's board, but he is staying focused on the power, having that flow.
To get a steady flow of power coming in each turn, and just not letting keeping a relentless pace, but there's no bursts like you would see in maybe a renowned deck or something, where you could take 5-6 power in one turn. This is more of a steady flow of 3-4 maybe power a turn.
I'm not sure it's unthinkable. With the new plots, the Winter Festival is something that we saw all through the tournament, and it's one that allows people to jump in quite a considerable chunk. And when you're looking at the potential of getting Benjen killed, of having Winter Festival out, perhaps the wall there, the Night's Watch can provide a significant jump across the power threshold. And getting Benjen killed is something that Night's Watch decks are getting more and more creative as we see.
That was really how Tamas got here yesterday in that final game against Andreas Rybak, when Andreas unfortunately missed the play with the Nightmares and went ahead and made that military challenge that lost him the game, Benjen being sacrificed.
and that's getting the assist from your opponent.
Yeah.
But even if we're looking at their own ways, we see the wildfire assault, where Benjamin doesn't have to be selected, and something people often miss, like the fact that you can have just the 1, 2, 3 characters on the board and still get him killed. You're going to see things like Watcher on the Walls, which unfortunately we never saw actually come down yesterday, but you can actually send him ahead and get your ranger saying, "You go ahead, we got your back." And
Yep. So there are ways to trigger that effect. Discarding Roast Road for more econ. He's already played the limited card of this round, so why not dump it for an extra gold?
Yeah, and this is the tempo you're speaking of, actually having the Rolls Road sacrificed, not providing the long-term economy, and having the gold today. And how do you think the overall pace of the game is going to change with the untimed rounds we're going to be seeing today?
Knowing Tamas only from this tournament, he has been very careful and methodical, but I wouldn't say that he plays very slowly. He's just methodical. Whereas Jakob, given the opportunity, he can be extremely careful, like taking his time and considering every possible aspect of the move before he makes it. So I'm expecting this game, as the board gets more complicated, to be considerably slower than what we saw yesterday, just from the fact that Jakob can play that sort of very careful style, and that's, I mean, training like that and being able to do all the math. That's how he got to be where he is, I think. That's why he's the champ.
The once and future world champion. And in that respect, does it change the relative strength of the decks? Because we saw the Night's Watch defeat the previous Lannister perhaps purely through the time limit. Does it swing the match in the Lannister's favour, not having the opportunity to drop a time plot?
I think it doesn't necessarily swing it, because it's so heavily reliant. Tamas can deal with pretty much any kind of setup. He doesn't have a setup in his deck where he can't use it. Whereas Jakob can get amazing setups. And if Jakob gets one of those amazing setups, I think Tamas is in troubles. But this kind of setup, which is decent, it's a good setup from him, Tamas has really sort of an advantage almost, because of the versatility of his cards. I think setup is more important than the non-timed aspect of this game. It sounds like I'm saying that it's down to chance, and it's obviously not, but I think that setups are key for Tamas to be able to pull that tempo, because if you got Tywin out from the beginning and all these heavy hitters can just hit the board relentlessly, I'm not sure that Tamas can keep up.
But really what we're talking about here is how much of an upswing you can get. Because we know that the Night's Watch is the slow and steady deck, and Lannister can be that as well, but it has the opportunity to swing way up.
And I think that is the thing that is more of a key to whether. I'm not sure how to really. I think that the untimed aspect of it isn't really necessarily going to fail Tamas. We talked about this yesterday. Tamas is such a careful player and considering all his options as well, and he's been able to do that within the time limits, I think, really. Whereas Jakob now does not have the time restriction, so he can also play extremely carefully. And I think that makes them even.
Yeah, and those are different dimensions as well, because we see a lot of the time the really careful plays, the trying to panic your opponent with grabbing power early, is something where Tamas can get tremendous value on your average player in frustrating them and getting them to make a mistake in actually making the wrong move. But against a player like Jakob, that's very much taken away.
He won't be able to do that, especially not now when the game is untimed. So I think that aspect is out the window, and then that makes it so that the versatility of the Lannister deck, you were talking about the way they can be almost rushy. That will give kind of a chance opportunity for Jakob whenever he hits it. And the way the board looks now, I think we're down for a really even game here. Remember, all the viewers out there, this is the best out of 3 finals. So this is the first game out of 3 coming your way. So it's very epic, this.
And that's going to be a major matchup. I'm still not sure if we're taking away some of the any given Sunday element of Game of Thrones by having the best of 3 finals, but it's definitely something that the viewers have expressed a preference for time and again, and it's something that the organisers here are quite determined to give them the opportunity to see.
Yep.
And if nothing else, we're going to have a very definite champion at the end of this.
We will.
We already see the Craven on the board there, actually.
Yep.
And it's something that we saw play a major role in the semi-finals.
It sort of turns off the red challenge for Tamas, since he wouldn't like to trigger the trigger from the mountain. So, and the mountain will most likely be able to win most of his defenses now. But it essentially also turns the mountain into a really expensive throne, right?
Yeah, but it takes a lot of pressure off him as well.
Yep.
Because we see the same kind of pace that we saw in the top 8, where Tamas is now digging for his wall.
Yeah.
He's trying to get him put himself in a situation where he doesn't have to attack,
Yeah.
where he's able to sit back and force the situation into a quick and decisive showdown.
Yep.
Because with Lannisters, they have that ability to burst, but much of the time it's reliant on very specific key characters.
Now we're going to see Tamas use probably that action window with the Old Forest Hunter after standing and after taxation, because he pulled 2 Iron Thrones, I think, from those 2 birds.
Yeah.
It looks like, and I'm certain that he will just use the Old Forest Hunter on one of them to get 1 econ already to keep for the next round.
I'm not sure he's necessarily willing to overextend himself here.
Oh, maybe
because that's
not.
something we saw, and that's something that we misread in the game against Rybeck, where
Definitely.
Rybeck wasn't dropping, the Hound wasn't dropping the Burnt Men, but realistically that was keeping the board tight and preventing your opponent from getting good value on the Wildfire. You have to assume they're running.
Yeah. Yeah, most certainly. This sort of control style deck, both of these decks are essentially having control elements in them, and Wildfire is just going to facilitate that so much. So they are surely running it. You have to expect it from your opponent.
It's too early for Benjamin to die to Wildfire.
It is. Well, he can die several times to Wildfire, though.
He certainly can, and they're kind of, I'm curious with Tamas discarding another copy of Benjamin early, because if he gets killed here, if he chooses to let him go back into the deck, it would have had another one in hand.
To play right away.
With a hand this size, you might just not be keeping distracting cards, considering you have to shuffle 5, 6, 7, 8 cards deep into it.
Yep. Yeah, that could just be one reason. No.
It really isn't, though.
No.
Let's be honest here. We've got to throw some crazy theories out there to entertain the viewers, but ultimately we have to comment on the match as it is. And so this time is going to keep it honest. We're not going to have any second tiebreaker discussion, because, as we mentioned, we're playing this on time.
Yeah, so that won't just come into an issue. So we see the Iron Throne is dropped, and the other copy was discarded for coins, not just in the in that action window.
The Iron Throne, or as it's known in a matchup like this, the Mountain Feng Shui edition.
So he's got that King's Road. He's got 2 Rose Roads. He's good for econ with the Forest Hunter. I think he's going to be rich for a while now, until we see the first snows of winter hit, and that's the Shadow Tower. The card that we couldn't really commentate on yesterday.
Yeah, and you can see that here for the first snow of winter. Heroes already getting set up for that. You already got the duped Aemon, you already got the duped Sam, you got the Benjen sitting back with the dupe to absorb a military challenge. He would not be ready to die at that time. So he's really quite well set for it. We see the ranging party coming down, so he's really building up a fairly major presence.
This is a strong board.
And the moment the wall hits, he is going to be able to push
Yep.
military through on the mountain.
Yeah, yeah, and the Shadow Tower, it might look like a bit of a janky piece to this puzzle, but he will be able to defend challenges every now and then, and whenever he can just take one character out of attacking from the Lannister side, it's much like a temporary Craven in that way.
And it certainly pushes the combat maths into that kind of complicated level where we saw the game naturally slow down.
And Jakob has to be more careful in making his challenges. He can't just shump a challenge in order to see what happens. He needs to be careful about that thing, because the chumping might just take one of his strong guys out from making a challenge.
And where we haven't seen confiscation come down yet, with that Craven on the mountain and the large board just filled with targets at almost every cost level from the Night's Watch deck now, can we confidently say that Jakob isn't running confiscation?
I haven't actually looked at his plot deck that carefully. I would assume that he is, but I'm 100% certain that he's running rattle shots. So he's got ways of getting rid of the attachments. I'm just not sure whether or not he's got a confiscation.
But even those ways can become less certain at times, because it's the same reduction we saw against the Greyjoy. It's you have the solutions on your one challenge to get rid of it, but the more people you have Craven, the harder it is for you to actually get out.
Yep, certainly. So this is an intrigue challenge from Sam coming in. So we got the deck lists here. So there is no confiscation. There is no confiscation in Jakob's deck, so he's got to rely on the
two rattle shirts waiting to make an appearance.
Yeah. So they will certainly hit the board as soon as he draws them, because he needs to be able to use his characters, obviously. So we get a
block from Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie's blocking it. Well, I guess he wanted to keep his cards.
Well, it's not so much that, but it's keeping him off the unopposed power, and the insight is quite relevant right now. So he's got to get the block in. He's keeping all his power icons back, because he doesn't want the power challenge getting through.
Yeah, he could have blocked with Pycelle, couldn't he? That would have been the same
He's
effect.
got the practice blade for the +1 strength.
Oh, right, yep.
So Pycelle blocking would still
there,
allow
underneath there. Yeah, it was underneath there. So that's probably a decent block then.
Yeah, it's a blade of insight.
So we have a power challenge coming in from the Raiders.
So with the raiding party here, he's looking at double blocking that at a minimum, or actually getting the jumping action done.
Yep.
But would you ever want to jump a character in on defense? Is that a bit of a waste? And I think that's the hesitation we're seeing from Jakob right now.
He's got the Hear Me Roar in hand, I think, which could jump something in. I couldn't really make out what he had in the likes of blue icons in his hand, though. Not sure.
But even the hand is less relevant once we're looking at I Never Bet Against My Family, which digs into the bottom 5 cards of the deck, and that's definitely I Never Bet.
Yeah, that was. You're right. So he could use that, but he can also block it with the gold cloaks and with Tyrion and Pycelle would be enough, right?
Tyrion and Pycelle would do it, but that's also going to lock him completely out of challenges for himself.
Yeah, it will.
And with the Iron Throne, you're looking at a situation where the Night's Watch may be looking to take dominance with a couple of gold coming in off the old Forest Hunter.
Yep. But he decides to do that block. He will draw a card from Pycelle for it, so that could be something. And he can also use, obviously, the Banff card offensively this way.
So currently, in terms of dominance count, we have the 13 from the mountain and the gold, and another 6 from the gold cloaks. So 16 on the opposite side of the board. We have the Iron Throne for 10, so 17 total dominance.
Iron Throne is for 2.
For 2
for
with
8,
Aemon
and
the rest of the bodies.
Yep. That's.
So right now, Tamas is winning dominance.
Yep.
And that power can be very relevant, because in some of these slow methodical games, it can make a huge difference just having even one power show up between the turns. I've seen Jakob in a game against the great British hope of Wama playing, where they had 5 power total on the table at pot 5. And that was Jakob's only timed win in the actual Swiss rounds.
So, was that a power challenge? Yeah, must have been. And here comes a military challenge that will go unopposed, I think.
Old Forest Hunter.
Old Forest Hunter is underneath there, yeah. So it is win, but it's not unopposed. We will see claim, perhaps, or will he use Maester Aemond on this? There are no standing green icons, so he might just use Aemond.
He's currently ahead on dominance 12 to 11, but if he kneels Aemon, that's going to give the power to Jakob.
That's 13. He's got 2 beds, throne, that's 10, and then Aemond and
No, 12 to...
reducer, 13.
These boards are getting very large.
Yeah, so I think mountain at 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So-
he just...
All the birds searching for that wall.
Yep,
The wall right now would be a terrifying thing for Jakob to see.
yep, that would do it. That would put that extra pressure on him. And we still haven't seen Tywin. And I think he's running... well, we've seen most of the other strong characters here, actually. He's not running Cersei, I think.
Well, the important piece we're still
Yeah,
haven't
he
seen
is.
hit the board is with
He's got
Ilan.
3 Cerseis, obviously. I remember now from the last game. He's actually using Cersei, and he's also using the trial by combat in order to get some effect from that extra claim on green.
Yeah, with Trial by Combat and Shadow Black Lane, this Lannister Winter deck is really interesting in seeing in pushing the envelope on what Lannister can do with their own in-house events, because we've
Yep.
seen them make really powerful use of the neutral cards, of the put to the swords, of the Tears of Lee, but now that
So here's the winter turn.
First snow.
The first snow turn, and Tamas timed that perfectly, calling the banners out. If he goes first, he can score a tremendous amount of gold and play something that will stick on the table, perhaps. Yep. So he decides to go first, takes the gold. No, did he go first? No, Jakob is first. Jakob is first. He doesn't have to. I'm completely bambling here. Obviously, first snow doesn't actually hit until end of marshalling.
yeah, so we have infinite money on the Night's Watch side, and we're not getting to see the hands. It's been really, they've been toying with us as commentators as much as the viewers. We had the Ryback in the semi-finals with traps so absolutely enormous that we couldn't see the hand, and Tywin.
We have Tywin and Cersei in Jakob's hand. So now Cersei hits the board, and he wants to take care of that hand of Tamas's. He wants to keep Tamas's kind of choked for cards, I suppose.
Is that a realistic option? We already
Not
see
in this
the
turn.
2 birds there.
Yeah.
The only thing really that's going to be reducing Tamas's hand for a while is going to be reserve.
Yeah, most likely.
And even against reserve, we're going to have the Iron Throne sticking around. We're going to have Sam. So not only is he negating the Kings of Winter penalty, he's actually staying ahead of that right now.
He is. But he might still pull some of the important cards out of the hand. Especially if they are drawn with Sam.
So the count of infinite money continues for the turn.
So
Does he have enough gold counters?
I'm not sure. That is just a huge pile. Prince Jon style bag of money. So that is the that's
Castle
both
Black
Castle
and wall.
and the wall. So that's some
right.
heavy locations for the Night's Watch, and he's still got 5 gold to show for it.
That's a location holding that truly is visible from space. What are you missing there?
Yeah. Now, what else is there in Tamas's hand? He's hiding it for a second copy of the wall, I think. That will probably hit the Old Forest Hunter.
Or he
before
could just keep it as defense against Cersei. It's something that I see kind of from average players is putting the dupes down just because they can. And a lot of the time it doesn't keep the padding in your hand to keep yourself safe
He's
from
not
it.
going to dupe his wall. There is no location hate in this Lannister deck.
Should we be seeing location hate? Perhaps not right now, but very, very soon.
From some decks we already have, but most likely they won't be staples for a good while. We have nothing like Harrenhal or anything like that you need to take care of.
if guys want decks like this actually continue at pace, because this is really the first we've seen of it since the new pack came out with Craven, will the wall become that threat that necessitates location removal? Are we going to see Put to the Torch or Pyromancers even coming out?
Do you really think so? Well, yeah, it's not impossible. It could happen, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like there are other ways of you need to be able to do these challenges anyway, and being able to take if you could just make your deck so that you quite often can make an unopposed challenge, that would probably be a better route, wouldn't it?
Perhaps it's a question for the viewers. We can have people jump on Facebook.
Yeah.
Maybe from Tamas winning this tournament or even getting this far in the final. The question is going to be discussed that much more, and this is where we're really starting to see serious deck building questions coming up in second edition. It's something that a lot of people felt starved for, and you've had people who see themselves as primarily deck builders feel that the second edition isn't giving them what they want.
And we're actually slowly getting there. With this cycle, I think, after this cycle and the Lannister box, we will have a lot more of versions of every deck, and there will be actual decisions being made beyond just picking a house.
Yeah, so it's not just going to be a question of which Lannister banner do you use and how many copies of Jaime are you going to slot into the rest of your deck.
So we've got, is that the Banff, right?
Never Bet Against My Family.
Yeah.
So we're going to see the bottom 5 cards of Jakob's deck. The careful measuring out of resources.
So
Treachery, Gold Cloaks, and that's a very near miss.
Yeah. That's not what he wanted to see.
No, it's a complete miss. It's a unique Lannister character.
Yeah, it has to be a unique, and the Gold Cloaks are very much not unique.
So this is really going to put the pressure on him in terms of getting his deck shuffled then.
Yeah, he needs to find a way of shuffling his deck. What are there in the way of shuffling cards in his deck, though?
2 Shadow Black Lane.
Shadow Black Lane is pretty much it. So he needs to get Shadow Black Lane on the table. We haven't seen it in Jakob's hand either, I think.
Also, his second Banff was in those cards, wasn't it?
Yep. So he really needs to shuffle that deck.
So that's really a restricted option now. But I'm wondering also how many unique characters would have come down, because we already have Jaime on the board, we already have Cersei, we already have
Tyrion and
the
Mountain. There's basically Tywin, the Tickler, or is
the
he
best
even
case scenario for
Tickler?
him would have been the Hound here.
Yeah.
Get the Hound on the board,
the
get him
Hound, the
back
Tickler.
into hand, and have that option developing from there.
Ilyn Payne.
Ilyn Payne
would have done
something
some
you
work.
don't want to see in marshalling.
Yeah.
Because from Never Bet Against My Family, he's going to bounce back into he's going to be discarded from play.
Oh, yeah. True.
So it's definitely not what he wants.
No, true.
So really, like it was perhaps a sign of desperation with the wall coming down as he's trying to get the Hound into his hand and try and push some of his board state, which at the moment he cannot. He can't win the military challenge.
No. No, this is a very stalled out board. Tamas has done an excellent job of just controlling the board state.
And now he has the power advantage over Lannisters. It's something that we mentioned before and something the community's been talking in relation to the other. He had a treachery at Jakob had a treachery at the bottom of the deck, but in terms of treachery on
in his hand, I haven't seen it, but we haven't been very careful at looking at his hand either. At the first moment, when he's fanning his hand, I'll make sure to try and sneak a peek of what Jakob might be holding for us.
This is a real disadvantage of watching truly experienced players who actually remember all the cards in their hand and all the resources at their disposal, who aren't like you or I just checking between each challenge. Okay, there's something interesting up here. Did I miss something?
No, this is very much so. And also, these two players have very few of those nervous ticks where they're just shuffling and shuffling. It's very calm and methodical here. But it's interesting to see that Tamas is so much ahead. There is no renown power on the side of Jakob. He's completely nullified that. And
well,
Tamas
there is renown, but of the decorative type.
Yeah, all right. But there is no renowned power. So Tamas is at 8 power to 0 in this matchup, and this is quite surprising to me that Tamas would be able to completely shut down Jakob like this.
And this is against that double beard factor that we were just discussing yesterday.
Yeah.
Not only is he playing against one of the
Indeed.
great beards of Westeros, but against the great beards of Westeros playman, defeating him on what could be considered his home ground.
I'd say. Jakob has all the advantages here. It's almost unfair, I think. So we see a copy of the plot march to the walls being contemplated by Jakob here, because he could just march those gold cloaks, whereas it would actually hit Tamas's hand a little bit. He needs to march something that he'd rather keep, probably. Most likely a ranging party, I'd think.
It is a tough choice here because
Yeah.
the ranging party is what keeps him ahead on the power count.
Yeah.
It's what gives him the option of tossing the power challenge across with abandon. And
But he doesn't want to lose that draw in Sam. Sam's already got the practice. Oh, well, the practice blade will just bounce up to his hand, so he doesn't lose the power blade. Yeah, and the birds are in his hand. Yep.
so here we really see the pacing still, because the card draw, perhaps he has most of enough cards to actually be able to push it the rest of the distance.
Yep.
He's on 8 right now. He's getting 2 from Winter Festival. He's likely to get the 2 from the wall unless that gets treachery. And can we sneak a peek at Jakob's hand right now?
Here it is. So there's no nightmares in his hand.
There's a Nightmares, there's a Treachery, there's a Tywin Lannister. So perhaps he can hold the progression, but I'm not sure he can strictly halt it here.
No. Also, when it comes to the draw, Tamas isn't really drawing for things any longer, is he? He's got everything out. He doesn't need that draw that much.
Yeah.
He just needs to keep a healthy hand for whatever purpose that would be. And here it says he turns into a coward. The Craven, the triple Craven is on the board, and if Tamas could just get that Harder, what's his name? That's the Holder. On the board, he's got plenty of attachments to use with him. He's got 4 offensive attachments, or defensive, I suppose, attachments.
I think it's
played.
pretty offensive at this point. You're trying to play out your characters. You're
yeah,
trying to participate in the game.
yeah.
And that's what you're going to be shutting you down like this. What could be more offensive than that?
Yeah. That they are very offensively in their use right now. So some more econ for Jakob.
Not what he wants to see right now.
No,
It's,
definitely not. And more econ.
But I suppose he has to save up for Tywin.
Yeah.
It's actually fascinating seeing the shoe being on the other foot as Lannisters desperately try to save up to one day get
Yeah.
to see Dad in real life.
Oh, that's the Shadow Black Lane. So that will allow him to shuffle his deck if he can trigger it.
If he
And
can win intrigue right now.
Yeah, it does trigger on defensive intrigue as well, but I don't think that Tamas is going to throw much in the way of challenges anyway right now.
He's got his wall right now. Challenges are...
Yeah, he's used.
That's old school throws.
Yeah,
you don't need that no more.
Yeah, no, he's just waiting for it to happen now. And Jakob doesn't have much in the way of offensive players left on his board. Tyrion can attack, Pycelle can attack, so that's a 6 power intrigue or power. He can get out there. He could win the intrigue challenge if he'd like.
Can he?
Well,
Because he's currently
He
got,
got,
5 strengthened characters in
5.
against the 6, plus the
Yeah.
Shadow Black Lane.
oh, sorry. No, I forgot. He can stand. He could stand one of the
Castle
2.
Black's-
Yeah,
not
with
the
Castle
Shadow Black
Black. So no, he can't even win the green challenge on offense now. But he's trying anyway. And he will realize that
Maybe
he can't.
we'll see a Widow's Wail.
Yeah, that could be. I didn't see one in his hand, but he does have it. It's not even in his deck. All right, he doesn't even have it. So I don't think he can win this. But he's throwing it anyway. So we see a kneel from both characters for 5.
This could be a treachery moment.
He could be a treachery moment. He does have treachery in hand.
He's got the 1 gold standing back
yeah,
for it, but
yeah.
is it really
He's
worth
nightmaring instead, and he's nightmaring
6 to 5.
Castle Black.
So there's no stand for that.
Why
A1
not?
is
Why
now
not
down.
just nightmare the wall instead and get rid of the power?
I think Treachery is the more flexible card right now. It
Yeah,
gives him the
yeah.
options against
true.
Benjen. It gives him options against the wall, and he's far more certain he's going to be able to get real value from it.
Yeah, yeah.
And here, I think this is in some ways just a big push to get his deck shuffled,
Yeah,
to open
yeah,
up more
yeah.
of his hand and get something. So we see another I Never Bet Against My Family, and with a shuffled deck, we're going to open up those bottom 5 cards and continue our search for. It really has to be
For the
Hound
hand.
or Tywin right
It
now.
has to be in a hand. Well, Tywin. He's got Tywin in hand, and so he can't keep him if he does hit the board.
But he gives another option to force through an intrigue challenge.
Yeah.
And perhaps with some gold in reserve, even maybe aspire to one day win military against the mighty hordes of the wall.
Yeah, that could be it. So Castle Black and Winter Festival. So that's another 4 power, right?
Really are pretty terrible, these Night's Watch
Yeah.
locations. That's how we keep calling the Shadow Black lane for Castle Black, and now
Yeah.
Castle Black for the wall.
Yeah.
Well, Castle
yeah.
Black is part of the wall.
Yeah. yeah.
So we might be wrong in a literal sense, but
The spirit is right. Now,
13 power for Night's Watch. Again,
exactly.
0 for Lannister.
Yeah, this is
Zero.
It is nowhere close what I thought it was going to be. It's a complete shutout from Tamas' side. He's just done everything he wants to, and he'll keep doing that.
I think this is really playing into the story element,
Yeah.
trying to starve out the Night's Watch,
Yeah.
and saying you might have won this battle, but
Yeah.
rest assured that years from now, when all your men have died, the Lannister faction will still prosper. It's really just sending a message that something could have been done,
Yeah.
perhaps not in a game like this, but in the overall Game of Thrones in a literary sense.
Sticking to the spirit of the books. Yeah, I don't see that Jakob has anything that will stop the wall from triggering this turn. He can't win the first challenge in any sense of it.
You can't win the power challenge
He
in the
can't
real
win
world.
there's no way. And how could he possibly get an unopposed challenge out of this? I just can't see it.
No, I think this one is largely over, and
Yeah.
we have the players playing it out just to perhaps see the extra few cards in the opponent's deck for the matches to come, and that's a different dynamic we're seeing from the best of 3 matches,
Yep.
where perhaps there is some value in seeing a long clock coming down as well.
For
Is
that
there any
renown.
power you won't claim?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
At this point, it seems almost taunting Jakob about
Yeah.
him not playing Widow's Wail in his deck. Look at all the weapons I have. Why don't you play one?
Yeah,
I've got
yeah.
a practice blade. I've got a non-practice blade.
Yep. So this is well, it's all but over. We're just waiting for this marshalling and then the challenge phase to end, and that will be it.
But this is an important thing, like when there is no time concerns, when you don't you know have to try and grab lunch in between rounds, playing every round as though you could win something there is quite important in the overall preparation in making yourself a better player.
Yep.
And this is why these guys are at the very top of their game.
Indeed.
This is where even Tamas himself very much sees Jakob as one of the top 5 players in the world. But interestingly enough, not his number 1 favorite player in Game of Thrones.
Really? Which is?
So for our American viewers out there, of which there may be few, but we certainly appreciate if you got up at this early hour to listen to our cast, it's John Bruno. He ranks him
Really?
as the number 1 overall player in Game of Thrones.
There you go. Well, Jan Bruno is a legend, obviously. As you can see on some of the plot cards that have been played. Well, Jakob is trying to bounce a bit here. See if he can have more luck this time. Bottom 5. Will we see a Tywin?
Treachery, put to the sword. Nightmares, put to the sword.
Tyrion.
The Duke for Tyrion.
Well, I guess.
And it's funny, this is exactly where people have criticised the I Never Bet Against My
Yeah.
Family when they initially saw it.
Yeah.
Is the chances of seeing relevant uniques all the way through. And it's something where the great deck builders really kind of turned that around. They stuck with it in testing, and they saw that it's able to deliver results. But you're still going to have turns like this, where you essentially have 2 of the 3 I never bet against my families come down with 0 effects on the board.
Yep. This is definitely the case. So we see Hear Me Roar for I can only assume Tywin. Yeah, Tywin hits the board. It won't really affect anything, but there he is. Jakob is initiating a blue challenge for all the marbles. And that's a 1, 2, 3,
Which he cannot win with
9, and
that's game 1,
points
folks.
pointed out, and that's it. So we have game 1 in the books. Tamas is ahead, and he needs 1 more victory in order to claim the Valar Morghulis title for this year, for 2016. Varberg, Morghulis.
Once again, I have to ask, are you really Swedish?
I am indeed. But we will be back with the next game shortly. I think there's a little bit of a pause here, right? I'll ask it to you. It on pause now.
Yeah.
So 10-minute break here, and then Ben and me will be back again. See you in a bit.
10 minutes pause. We will try back in like 57, 58.
Yeah, sure.
He didn't believe you would play confiscation. He was this is 101 seconds. Even when back to hand came back out. It checks at the end of phase as to whether or not you can get a point. So it's not like the card back if you're going back. No time. But let's go. Because like my kids aren't playing that. I did it once. What's it today? Yes, today. So my concern there is Lancaster Village and two large banners. And if those get shut down, then he still builds up that. As we give a 2-minute warning back.
But if you're ready to play, I guess we can start now.
We'll shuffle.
Yeah.
Be careful with it.
Turn anything on?
Oh, I can't. I'm not logged in, so I can't give a 2-minute one. But I think we're on. So, can you hear us? I'm not sure whether or not they can hear us, but we have our two players shuffling. Are we? Yeah, we are ready, but are we live? Yeah, they can hear us. All right. So
We apologize on the technical
Yeah.
difficulties
You ready
today.
to start?
There's too much excitement around the melee at Varberg Morghulis, so we're a bit low on manpower when it comes to our technical setup.
we're trying to fend for ourselves here. So we are going into the second game of best out of three, really. On your left, you've got Tamas Albeck, and he's ahead 1-0. Jakob Hultman on your right, playing Lannister Kings of Winter.
And we had a bit of a mid-game interview with Jakob there in terms of discussing how the game went and the choices behind not having confiscation. And
He feels it's a tempo thing, really.
yeah, and with the deck having the flow that it does, the confiscation is definitely something that he doesn't want in the plot deck. And it's something that we're going to see moving forward, with people having to make the hard choices and having to leave some vulnerability to certain matchups.
So now he's got the Rattleshot Raiders in his opening hand, and I think if he can make a setup where he where he can keep this hand. I don't think he will set up the rattle shards because then they're vulnerable
What
to
else does he
milk.
have to set up? It's just actions, really.
Yeah, he's got rattle shards, gold cloaks. This is a terrible hand. King's Road. Oh well, Varys.
really with,
no, Varys and Reducer as
It lets
well.
him play the long game with Varys
Yeah.
to set up the rattle shirts, and that's just part of the discussion we were having in between games is, should this be a matchup where you aggressively mulligan for the rattle shirts? Is it that relevant when you don't have the confiscation?
I don't think you can set him up safely because he might just be targeted with milk immediately before he can actually
There are no
act.
attachments, so no milk on the
Oh
rattle
yeah,
shirts.
yeah. All right. I'm off my game this morning.
So I think perhaps this is the matchup where you have to go for it.
So
you aggressively go.
Reducer, gold cloaks, and rattle shirts then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll have to be. And in discussing the matchup with Jakob, he's saying the one mistake he did make was actually playing Gregor out in leaving him out there to be hit by attachments and not taking the full advantage of the deck's options with Hear Me Roar, Our Navigate, Bet Against My Family, and
He
being
was
able to
hoping-
have him force through
Yeah.
the rattle shirts that way.
Yeah. No, he's hoping to be able to just pull one turn off with him, and the odds of actually hitting something with the cost curve of Tamas's deck was pretty good. So he took a chance, but it did not pay off.
But I think we could be seeing a very different game here with the rattle shirts already in hand, with the Varys there as a long game option. This is very different from what we saw in game one.
Yeah. This is a setup that can really be hard for Tamas to deal with. We'll limit his options. So I think Jakob has already decided for a 3-card setup with the rattle shards, the gold cloaks, and the reducer. It looks like he's put them that way. So we have the throne. We've got King's Road. I
The
think
wall from the start.
Yeah, but
You're definitely not going to want to put it down, but
No.
in terms of setting up the economy with the King's Road, the Ranging
Calder.
Party,
Yeah, he is setting up the wall.
shows how much we know.
Yeah, exactly. Wall. He's got some strong locations and a bird on the table, and he knows that Jakob is playing March, but he's just betting that Jakob won't march a bird, which he probably won't.
Can a bird really march? I mean, those tiny little legs, how far can
Yeah,
it possibly get?
exactly. And he draws into a second copy of Varys there. He's got milk in his hand. I'm talking about Jakob's hand here. I think that looks like Castle Black on Tamas's side. Does he have the Old Forest Hunter? Because he got the dupe of the Iron Throne, which is, I'd say, Old Forest Hunter material. Jakob is considering his plots at this moment, whereas Tamas is still organizing his hand from the drawback.
And that's the interesting part in actually seeing the plots being considered here. Because for most Kings of Winter deck, it's pretty much rates in their mids non-stop at turn one.
Yeah.
But having seen in the first matchup the rates in their mids getting countered by counting coppers, you suddenly have a completely new decision element.
So he's actually using Festnose of Winter for first plot now, which is it's interesting. That will deal with the bird, and it will deal with most of the things that Tamas would like to set up.
It could be a situation
as far as Jakob knows. He doesn't know that Tamas is holding on 2 ranging parties in his hand.
But also, if he goes with a similar start with the counting coppers
He
again,
won't be
it
able
could be
to play
difficult for
them.
him to
Yeah.
afford them.
He couldn't play them. He's got a King's Road, so he could play one of them.
So now we're going to have the 3 gold and Maester Aemon running straight into the first snow.
Yeah, this is an excellent start from Jakob. He will be able to deal with Maester Aemon unless Tamas is drawing into a dupe of Maester Aemon. I don't think Tamas is holding on to one now, right?
If you draw the dupe here, if you're not able to put some other body on the board, do you really play him? Do you take the risk that he's going to be killed off the board, left there all by himself?
Yeah, I don't know. So he's
Road and
builder. There is no dupe here.
So he has the option to drop the ranging party if he wants to.
Yeah, he could do that. So Jakob is going fast.
And he's got Tywin.
He's got Tywin. He can't play Tywin.
He's going to
He's
be
got a
on
King's
3, 4,
Road,
5, 6 gold is
6.
the most
Yeah,
he can get to.
Yeah, he can't play Tywin.
But he's there for the
For
turns
next
to
round.
come.
Yeah, for the next round. And I think, unlike the Mountain, Tywin is an excellent hard hard play.
Because he
for him.
enables everything else.
Yeah, yeah.
He completely shuts down all challenges coming at you with the renown, even if he's craven.
Exactly. That's
The
something.
one concern here for Jakob actually is the total lack of intrigue in his hand.
Yeah. But, well, intrigue that he can play. Tamas got it.
I heard he can be intriguing.
Yeah, I've seen it happen. Now, he passes marshalling. He just plays the copy of the King's Road. Keeps 2 gold for jumping, or at least threatening jumping. I'm not sure that he has anything to jump in hand. He's got put to the sword, maybe? Did he have? Jakob?
I think he's almost certainly did.
Right, so Tamas actually dupes the wall for some reason, I guess.
Well, he's got to be discarding to reserve. In this situation, there's no intrigue for him to protect himself against.
No.
It's not really something you would prioritise on a turn like this in terms of jumping
No.
it in.
And he doesn't
you certainly
have the
want to save that up.
He doesn't have the hunter anyway. Yeah, no, it makes kind of sense. Will he be playing the ranging party though? I can only assume he will. Why wouldn't he?
The ranging party.
Duping the Iron Throne. He could just... there's no reason to milk the gold cloaks. So he can't use that now.
Realistically, the King's Road is something he might want to save here.
Yeah.
So if we've got a treachery coming down on Aemon, or he can't even protect him. He doesn't have the dupe. So the only thing he would have is the ranging party, which would then die to military. He can't keep them on the board. So he's really in a tough situation here. He's going to be playing nothing turn 1. He's going to be yielding 2 unopposed challenges and not get the wall trigger.
Yeah. This is definitely what's going to happen.
And now he's going to be potentially stuck discarding perhaps the bird with the reserve, and it's a tough place to be in.
Yeah. No, this is the absolute opposite of the last game. Here we see a very dominant start from Jakob. People in the chat is pointing out that the fact that playing best out of 3 is very atypical for Game of Thrones. These players now face each other possibly 3 times in a row, and they can start. There's almost a meta game developing as to in which order the plots will unfold.
But there's definitely something we saw. We saw that with the wraiths in their midst not coming down, having been countered by counting coppers last time.
Exactly.
And then we saw the same expectation from Tamas, where expecting the wraiths in the midst to no longer be the turn 1 play, him dropping something else.
Exactly. So there's almost a small meta developing here in the final between the 2 players, and I disagree with the chat in that that's not a good. It's not typical of what your experience at the tournament would be like, but it's not. That doesn't make it bad. It's interesting, very interesting to my mind, and it puts another dimension to the mind games these 2 players have to be playing with each other.
But even in terms of being typical, the road to Stalek has stuck to that as a full-on standard at this point. We've seen the best of 3 matches at Battaglia, we've seen the best of 3 matches at Fracas. It's something that has been happening along the road, and it's certainly something that we cannot say at this point is an aberration. It's certainly not unusual.
It brings us another element to the game. So here we see Tamas discarding Haldor. We don't have Tamas's deck list, do we? Because I would be interested in knowing how many copies he's actually playing of that.
I should be able to dig something up.
We might have it here, actually. Well, we'll see if we can get our hands on a copy of that deck list eventually. So,
is this something that we should be discussing in significant length, though? Because Tamas is very methodical about his deck building, and he has the opportunity to build that. And something we saw as a contrast to First Edition, perhaps, with having the deck lists more open right now. Should players be able to hold on to their deck lists?
Well, I don't know. This is I have always enjoyed the spirit of the meta in Game of Thrones, where players have been open and players have been very much almost cooperating in developing the decks and the deck lists. So we might not get into
The great
Tamas
details of it.
the great details, but it is interesting, at least to me, and I think perhaps to the viewers, to consider how Tamas is making his choices. When he's discarding a card like Halder, is it because he's running 3 of it and he knows that he will be able to draw into it, or is it because he feels that he doesn't need it in this game? With rattle shirts out, he's not able to keep attachments perhaps, and he feels Halder might be irrelevant.
But this is something that where you have a very delicate balance in the deck as a whole, because we've seen him play the Watch Has Need through the rounds. So it's something where he's very aware to an almost card counting level of what's actually there and what he's likely to draw with it. So it is that really fine control that you're going to see in a deck refined over months at a time.
And this is definitely the case with Tamas, and I'm quite sure it's the case with Jakob as well. He has prepared for this tournament. He might not have prepared as much as he would for Starlek or the Worlds, but he's definitely prepared for this, and he's deck tested and he's considered his deck over and over. Obviously he knows what he's got in his deck, and every play, every discard is meaningful. There is no randomness to this, I think.
And this is the great advantage of playing the same faction all the way through the tournament season, is that the actual specific decks themselves change, but the use of each individual card, you're familiar with every possibility you get out of them. So in many ways, the practice for this would have happened all the way through the tournament here.
Yep. So we saw Jakob draw into the Tickler and I think another Rattle Shirt. So the Tickler is one of those cards that is most likely included to have another target for Banff, I think. It's not an important card for his deck.
We have Tywin money!
We do have Tywin money. I'd say we most certainly will see him come out. No, to the Tickler instead. Interesting. So will he... He's got 5 more.
And here we see prophetic vision from Tamas, with the wall protected against a Tickler that hadn't even come yet at that point.
Yep. So that got to be the Hound, right? No? Another Rattle Shirt. That's interesting. All right. So he's looking. I can only assume he's looking to push the advantage of the military challenge here. He's got a 2-claim plot, and he wants to keep Tamas's board as clean as possible after this round. So this is board control coming from Jakob. I can only analyze it in that way. What do you think?
And we've got the famine, which is going to be increasing the cost of his characters. He's really relying on Tamas not being able to afford enough characters to get the wall going, keep the military pressure on, even with Aemon. There's 1 gold sitting back, which at this point we have to assume is for treachery on Aemon, perhaps himself, for trying to force through the body count.
Yep.
So one very interesting thing we saw actually from the previous turn, and if we grab a look at Jakob's hands, too late now, he's already gone.
He's a fast shuffler.
Is the discard of Varys from the first turn, because that's something I really felt was the long-term option.
Yeah, but he's no longer interested. He's already got that board control in other ways.
Is it something that he can hold on to? Because the board control might be in place right now, but it's a long game. It's a long journey, that 15 power. And Lannisters don't necessarily have a way to jump all the way up to it if they can't keep their renowned characters on the board.
Well, yeah, true. But he's got both his Rattle Shirts out now. He wouldn't like to get stuck in the situation he was in last game, where he's got big characters on the board, but they can't do anything. A Varys would discard both of the Rattle Shirts, and then he would be left with no options to deal with any of the, let's say, offensive attachments.
Yeah. And here we really have really difficult choices for Tamas, with a famine really shutting him out, because what Night's Watch would want to do here is just to spew out an endless horde of tiny characters of any species really he could toss out there, which famine really limits him on. And it's something that we did not see famine played immediately as it came from its first pack. But in this tournament specifically, I've seen it in a good few decks.
Yeah, it is effective at this kind of board control, and when you couple it with other forms of choke that you would see from maybe the White Tree and Mega Contribution, or from the Kings of Winter combined with the Wraiths plot, that kind of control element when they start to sort of get rolling, the control style, it's really exponential, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's something that's going to reduce their resources continuously. It's just this constant drain that's going to add up. And could the Night's Watch play nothing here? Because almost anything they put out there is likely to go to the military challenge.
Yeah.
Does he try to save them and hope to keep them as protection in hand for against the injury challenge? Try to prolong that in.
He's going to have a 5 reserve, right? Famine is a winter plot, I think.
He's got the Iron Throne with the Winter Festival at 6. So
Oh yeah,
that's
so he's
gonna
going
put
to
him
be
at
at 6. He's actually at 6. He could just...
So he can keep
just
a full
stall
hand,
out.
but if he does, is this a recoverable position? He's going to have 4 characters out there
I don't know.
facing him down.
Because that's essentially what Jakob did. He stalled out. He didn't play Tywin. He didn't play anything major. He just sort of made his board able to deal with military, whatever military actually hits the board. Yeah, Tamas seems to be able to be content here. He's playing another Rose Road, preparing for next round. Perhaps buying dominance.
Tough place to be in.
He's pretty much buying dominance, isn't he? He's at 13. No, he's not, because Jakob is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's at 12.
He would almost certainly have dominance once the challenges are going to come across the board.
Yeah,
and
Tamas is buying dominance. He's actually, even if Jakob doesn't make any challenges, Tamas has dominance.
And this is a funny situation we have ourselves in.
Yeah.
If no characters are coming down, the ideal tickler target is the King's Road.
Indeed. This is probably the best he could do. Yeah.
With all the strange things we've seen the tickler do, and there hasn't been that many, but there have been games where you had enormous swings from a random tickle effect, and something that has frustrated some of the bigger name players, like some of who want to very specifically rely on their performance. But it's funny seeing, like, from those kind of dream scenarios as people who push through, having the tickler aiming for a 1 goal location.
And this is again where you would have a 1 game final. Obviously, that would be weird if you won on a tickler draw, but in a 3 game, it's just not very likely, is it? So it's what you would see from a poker perspective, maybe that obviously it's a game of chance, or there are elements of chance in the game, but in a larger number of random events, you start looking to the odds really of things
average it
happening.
out.
And if you're able to play those odds in the best possible way, that's when you win. So even chance, it's how you utilize your odds of getting chance.
Yeah, but even here, like with all our random speculation aside, he makes the logical play. He goes for the 2-claim intrigue challenge.
Yeah.
And we can see the power stacking up. Tamas isn't that far behind on the 3 against 6, but with an absolutely empty board, it's an imposing situation to be in.
Yeah. He's definitely going to have money to play most of his hand. He's got another King's Road in hand,
but not that many characters. With that 2-claim intrigue hit.
Aemond, something else with green, I think. That's a reducer and a ranging body, and maybe a bird. Is that a bird?
The bird still seems to be around.
Yeah.
We saw the other control. We've got one of the milks gone, and I'm sure Jakob is very happy to see that out of the equation, because surely we must be looking towards Tywin at some point.
Tywin's got to hit the board now.
Just even for the fans.
Just for the for the hell of it. So the chat is pointing out that Tamas must really have. He would have liked Valor to be in his hand right now, and surely, of course, he would. But again, Jakob hasn't overextended. He's still got Tywin and the Hound in his hand.
So would Valor actually save him in this situation? I don't think that's the case.
I don't think that's even close to the case. It would remove the 2 rattle shots, which are important, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah. He might be able to stabilize from there, and it's something I talked to Tamas about in terms of how he will fit Valor into his deck, and it's the reliance on the additional dupes on the unique characters. In his opinion, it would be either Valor or Wildfire rather than running both, because Valor would still give you the same option in terms of getting that Benjen killed.
Yeah, and seeing how the Night's Watch isn't running those huge, important characters, Wildfire is really not their number one. It's not working the way they would like Valor to work, obviously. So here we go. Tamas is preparing for a fairly large spending round, I can only assume. Trying to
And
grab
hoping
some
he'll draw enough to actually
to
justify
do
that.
some- Yeah. He draws into for the watches on the wall and a practice blade, so that's not what he was hoping for. Not even close. Ranging party with the practice blade, I guess.
The Watcher on the Walls is a valuable option here, because if he can stabilize even a little bit and force a situation where it is both of the Rattler shirts swinging across,
But
taking
he
them
really-
out in...
I don't think he will have two raiders.
Yeah,
Rangers.
realism aside, we're talking dreams right now. We're talking possibilities. We're talking aspirations.
I apologize to everyone. Now, this can only be Tywin. There he is, the man, the myth, pointing to victory. And this will speed up the game.
So is Jakob making a terrible mistake here, having his house card in a position that Tywin does not point to? Can
I'm
you
not
really
sure.
be led to
But
victory
then
in such a situation?
Tywin is pointing more to the beard, which has been the flow from all the games that we have been streaming.
That
You
man
can
is
see-
undefeated.
Yeah, that man is undefeated, and there's a reason. People, make no mistake, with that combination of Jakob's own beard and that, well, it's not undefeated. Jakob lost on it the first game.
He did not lose the match. He lost the game.
He lost the game, exactly. So you cannot underestimate the power of the beard.
Should we be raising this as an actual concern with the tournament organisers? Should
I
mats
already
be
have.
switched between rounds?
I have already made that, and that's why they flipped it, but forgot that
They have
it's
not.
actually it's the bearded mat was on the other side of the table, but then Tamas is still sitting on that side, and Tamas has no beard.
So at the highest levels of competition, we see this in the NFL, we see this in high sportsmanship where teams switch sides in between rounds.
Yeah.
Is this something that's going to be really key in a matchup like this?
I think we will have to start switching sides, especially when we have this obvious advantage to one of the sides. It's like being able to play with your home audience, I'd say. It's not actual part of the game, but it is boosting morale for you, and it is spewing contempt in the face of your opponent.
Yeah, and this is something where we try to control for the home audience. For those watching from home, you might not be aware, but we have a dedicated feature table room set aside from the general floor. So you have the competitors who
Isolated
want to
from
deliver
the-
their best
yeah.
performance, actually given the opportunity to do so without the usual singing, dancing, the occasional projectile of a hated card being tossed across the room. Just the normal average things you can expect at a Game of Thrones tournament.
So even though you can hear the occasional opera in the background of this commentary, it's because we are in the general public area, whereas the players are not bothered by opera.
Yeah, so we have to see if we can balance out the environment as a whole. So we got both of the rattle shirts coming through. We don't have two rangers, and
Yeah.
is the Night's Watch being specious in its approach to ranks? I mean, should they be looking to upgrade their messenger ravens to ranger status? I mean,
Right.
this is a clear flaw in their game plan we're seeing right here.
Obviously, if he had already started to consider ravens as rangers, he would now be able to kill off both of those quite important characters.
I mean, we're seeing this asymmetric approach to warfare already coming in from Baratheon, who are known as kind of leaders in the field,
Yeah.
whose own white ravens can very easily be armed with Lightbringers
For
or
instance.
dire wolves. It's just a standard armament equipment of your average bird.
Yeah, yeah, and here we see the Night's Watch birds not being treated the same. They are set aside with even they don't even get icons.
Yeah, so when the watch has needs, apparently the messenger ravens are not included in that. Perhaps we should be looking for some kind of industrial action from the birds at this point.
Perhaps. So we know Tamas has a practice blade in hand. He can win this challenge if he wants to. It's a military of 6, and he could oppose with the raiders and put the practice blade on them. But then he.
But is that where he wants it? Because the practice blade's military icon is valuable.
It is, and he can't really.
Yeah, and he concedes it unopposed.
Yeah.
So does Aemon save somebody right now, or?
Yeah.
You probably save the bird.
Yeah. Or not. Yeah. Perhaps the.
So you play it safe, even if it's treachery right now. The bird isn't really a core component of their strategy.
No, he's drawn into most of the important cards in this deck, and indeed we do see the treachery.
But we see Jakob further continue to shut him down. So this is kind of the overall incremental advantage we have. We see Tamas on a typically low number of cards in hand.
Yep.
The treachery shutting down the bird is stopping additional characters coming down.
Yep.
Because really we're likely to see Tamas try and build towards a wildfire turn right now,
Yep.
try and stabilise with that, and perhaps then slap a Craven on Tywin and put himself into a situation where he can defend the military.
That would
seem
seem very likely. But I think it will be hard for Tamas to get there, because Jakob will still be able to launch a unopposed green challenge now. He will be able to perhaps kneel someone with a blue shump challenge, and then Tamas is only looking to do one challenge.
Yeah, it's definitely a very tough spot to be.
Yeah. So here's the green challenge, which is undefended, unopposed.
Down to
rather.
one card. Oh, the humanity.
And that is the watch. The watches on the wall is pulled, which is, let's be honest, is irrelevant in Tamas's hand.
Right now, but it was a great option against the rattle shirts, with both of the rattle shirts on the table right now.
Yeah.
And there was a good hope of salvation from there.
Yeah.
Because with the large Night's Watch characters coming down, supported by the walls, he could force potentially Jakob into a situation where he has to overcommit to the military.
But I've had a very hard time seeing Jakob commit both of his rattle shirts to a military challenge
Once the two rangers are on
when
the
there
board.
are 2 rangers on the board.
And this is where we're going to see the 3-game format come into it, because we did not see the Watcher on the walls in the discard pile at any point in the first game. So we know that Jakob hasn't played against Tamas in the run-up. I'm not sure he has played other Night's Watch players.
He has.
Yes, he has.
Yes, he has. And
In
he's
this
also,
tournament?
in this tournament, and he's also deck tested with some Night's Watch.
Okay, so
players,
it's
I
definitely
think.
not a surprise.
He knows of the card. He's aware of it. He obviously doesn't know whether or not Tamas was playing it.
But now it's an absolute
Now
certainty.
he knows for a certain. So this is the blue challenge from Tywin, and actually Tamas defends it.
So with options drastically restricted, he just takes the dominance and
Yeah, that's dominance for Tamas.
Dominance to you.
And we see Jakob at 8 power, still no renown, which is also very surprising from this kind of Lannister deck. It's usually very renown heavy. It's not stark renown heavy, but it's still.
yeah, you still have that traditional Lannister finish of I attack with the boys for 48 strength military. It's
And a few of them, at least 3 of them, maybe would.
so right now it has to be the counting coppers.
This would look like a wildfire for Tamas, maybe.
That was Mark.
No, copper marched, and
That was what Jacob expected.
he needs the draw, obviously, but and he needs it before he. Yeah, so this is good play from Tamas, because he needs to have a hand when he wildfires.
But it's also Jakob taking advantage of the fact that he's not really in a position to play wildfire right there.
Yep.
Because in case of wildfire, he would have gone to Tywin and Rattleshires, which is not the worst place to be in, but it's still not a hugely imposing board if a Craven comes down and he can actually defend the military.
You could even keep the tickler and just keep one of the rattle shots.
Well, Tywin isn't going to die in a wildfire.
No, sorry, I'm completely. He can only keep 2 in that case.
3.
No, not with the wildfire and.
He'd have to choose himself.
Yeah.
First,
yeah.
Trigger marched first because
Yeah.
Tamas
Yeah.
already had 3 characters.
Yeah.
All right, so we have.
Well, he's got the King's Road, so
Yeah.
the initiative would go to the lower power.
Yeah.
So I think there he was very much relying on on the wildfire not coming down this turn up, having reduced his hand enough to where the wildfire is not a reasonable play.
So we have Evan pitching in here as well with some
He's our
interesting
definitive rules
thoughts.
expert. We had some complaints, mostly from ourselves, about our incompetence on the cards yesterday, so we went to recruit some additional help.
Some person that can actually read cards for us. All right, so
Okay, so we have Tamas very much stabilised. We have
that is
4 cards on the board. We've got the Benjamin out there. We've got Amon ready to heal the needy. We've got the wall. We have Castle Black now.
We've got income in the form of the.
Assuming he can survive this turn without excessive damage, next turn is the wildfire, and then
I can only assume.
perhaps try and bring us back.
Yeah, and that's Cersei, which will somewhat hamper that if she can start emptying Tamas's hand again. Or is Tamas's hand already empty?
He's got 1 card in hand, so Cersei is less relevant here for the hand.
Yeah.
But you have to actually keep in mind that trial by
event,
combat is a
So
very relevant element here.
He could actually get three kill effects here.
And he's got the gold left behind for it.
Yeah, he does. He can even jump the hound in if he like to win both red and blue, perhaps.
Well, Tywin can go a long way towards forcing through the red by himself. He's currently sitting on 10 strength, and
then blue.
with Night's Watch has potentially what? We're talking about 6 for the ranging party, 2 for the Old Forest Hunter, and another 5
9
for Benjen.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 11, 13 plus Castle Black 15.
Yep.
So Tywin is 2/3 the way there by himself. Throw in the rattled shirts.
There's 16.
And we have the fealty knelt. We don't have gold, for even if that were another Watchers. So the military can be forced through.
With
Cersei
just the rattle
and
shirts.
the Tickler can land the...
Green without problem. Or actually Cersei on her own.
Well, Cersei on her own, there's always the option of Aemon blocking with Castle Black. Which would hold her back, and we know there's no Widow's Wail to consider in this situation.
No.
But if he does have the kill
tickler.
effects, this is...
But then he might have trouble winning the blue, because Tamas would leave that red challenge with just...
If he wipes the board right now, the blue isn't relevant. He's ahead.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
He can afford to take a turn off that and just for the sheer murder of people.
Does Jakob have a treachery in hand for Aemon?
I'm not certain, but even if he does, if he gets the 3 kills across, Aemon can only save one of those.
Yeah, so that's two dead characters, and then he's down to, I can only assume, Aemon himself and the raiders.
But there's a good chance between the put to the swords and the trial by combat that something terrible is going to happen to Night's Watch this turn.
Yeah.
So we would play a horror movie layover track on this, but as we said, our technical support is mostly reduced today.
The Jaws soundtrack pumping, because there's definitely sharks in the water. So here we have a red challenge with the rattle shots and
that's the 16 we talked about
16
against whatever
red,
potential the
which will be shunt blocked, I can only assume, by perhaps the
wizened forest hunter, the experienced forest hunter.
It should be, because he can't block for 11. That would make no sense, right? Well,
he can block for more than 11 if he tosses everybody out there to protect him with the foot of the sword. But I think he's in a situation now where he has to take the chance that it isn't there.
Exactly. I can't see him blocking with both Benjen and the raiders. So he's just blocking with the Old Forest Hunter for 2, leaving himself open for put to the sword, but there is no put to the sword, and then he kills the Old Forest Hunter, and we see the first renown out of Jakob.
So we see Tywin officially taking the position of Team Sweden with those Swedish crown-shaped tokens coming down.
Yep.
And here we see Aemon not save the Old Forest Hunter, which is very much the right play, because if we could potentially have a treachery leaving an unopposed intrigue, we could be looking at the trial by combat, where he would be that much more relevant, and if he were knelt, that would be absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
And I I think this is what we're headed towards right now. He's forcing through the intrigue challenge.
So,
Amon
but he
is
still
defending.
has to stand him with Castle Black, right? Because he needs to save.
Yes. It's something that.
He's not. He might not be thinking that.
Okay, no trial by combat.
No trial by combat. All right, but I think Jakob has a trial by combat in his hand, right? I think we saw one
Certainly
earlier.
not. If Amon did not stand here
Yeah.
and we get through to claim,
Yeah.
there's no reason not to play it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with the wildfire coming down next turn,
Now,
Does Tamas have hope?
Yeah, can Tamas even play the wildfire without the hand? Well, obviously he can. He's only got 3 characters on the board, so of course he can. But he can't kill Benjen then.
this is true, but it allows him some small opportunity to stabilize.
Yeah.
I think he'd want to play his other counting coppers here,
Yeah.
but wildfire has to be his only hope of actually moving
Surviving.
forward.
Yeah, because Jakob is at 9, which is it's not in well.
And the
it's-
hilarious
it's
thing we see
sort of
here
within range.
Is that the Night's Watch still keeping up on power, and they're only 2 power behind,
Yep.
despite all the devastation behind losing their hand, despite having little to no board state. They're only 2 power behind, and
This is true. This is true, and that is the resilience of the deck of Tamas. He only needs to stabilize to be in the game, but he's just not there yet.
it's a tough spot.
Yeah.
And you have also a funny situation on the Lannister side here,
Mm-hmm.
where Jakob has to consider how does he avoid overextending, how does he
I think he
leave himself
has.
with a position to win.
But I think he has. He's got to keep 1 rattle shot, one
Tywin,
Tywin, obviously,
perhaps.
and I say Cersei. The tickler isn't as good as Cersei is at this moment, right?
But if he keeps that, a single Craven holding Tywin back would suddenly cramp his style. Not with the Hound we know he has in hand.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Jakob has to fear that much. Jakob can push the red through and then remove the.
And that's the wildfire
Yeah,
bit.
into a counting coppers for Jakob. So Jakob wants to replenish his hand, possibly draw into interesting card Jamie. That was trial by combat, and some of the card I couldn't really make out. So he's removing.
If that was
The
trial
two
by combat,
obvious-
definitely keep Cersei.
Yeah, I can't see him discarding Cersei at this point. So one of the rattle shots needs to go, I think.
He almost certainly has. What do we have?
Wasn't that
Another
trial by
Tywin?
combat? Wasn't that trial by combat? Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see there.
I think it was, and that would explain. Well,
But even if he does not have it right now,
Yeah.
having the option to draw it, maybe not
Yeah.
in this round, but in the next round,
Yeah,
it is an enormous source of pressure on the Night's Watch.
I think this is a given. This is the 3 cards he needs to keep, and then he draws 2 more cards: Burnman and Tywin. Tyrion. Sorry. So 3 coins
And the money
2 extra
continues
for
to flow out of Tywin's
5
coffers.
Is 5, and he's got 2 reducers. Tyrion obviously hitting the board, right?
Yeah, I believe the great philosophers of old described this as him having more money than a horse has hairs.
Yeah. So duping Tywin.
Not on setup because he's humble.
Of course. And
So we have I Never Bet Against My Family.
that was a Banff. It's not a trial by combat. It's a Banff.
You probably drop Tyrion right now and just keep your
Yeah.
options open.
Yeah.
Or do you try to amplify the military pressure with Jamie? Because that gets the extra renown on the board.
No, the stealth of Tyrion and the extra income.
Being able to get unopposed
Yeah,
challenges
yeah.
would
That-
turn
that-
off the wall.
It turns off the wall. It brings the income. He can jump the hound in. This is the right play. Now,
Well, whatever the play was going to be, it was going to be the right play from an actual world champion. But
Yeah.
it's fun to be able to speculate. It's something that
Yeah.
we get to share with the
you
viewers
as the
here.
viewers, yeah. And I can see very much so in the chat, people are speculating.
So he has the ability to defend now. He is a little bit stabilized. He's still going to have the renown coming across him. He's got the additional intrigue
he
icon
can hope
to
for
stop
some
the
draw from Sam.
Tyrion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say that Tamas is stabilized, but he's got some cards on the table, and that I could because he is, like you said before, keeping up. in a way.
Yeah, I mean, this is what in poker would be described as a chip in a chair situation, where
Yep.
the whole
You have
certainly
outs.
isn't.
You have outs. You just need to draw into that, and you need to adjust your bets accordingly.
Oh,
So,
this is Gregor now.
this
This
is-
is Gregor now.
then-
Oh my God, call the cops.
It could be. This could be. This is interesting. It could also be the Hound, obviously, for free. There are a few targets here. So no burn men, can't play
No.
that, can't play that. The Hound. So we get the Hound. Gregor's younger brother, and he's got another copy of the Hound in hand.
And he's got an immensely irrelevant power icon right here.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be getting the Hound back into hand if
Yeah.
he can force the power through. And he really should be racing now to
Yeah.
get himself through with no trial by combat out there, just to ensure that he's pushing him as much as possible.
So this is the green, and it's going to have to be unopposed. Tyrion triggering for 2 gold.
Well, certainly he can throw in Salmon in as a blocker.
Oh yeah, he can.
So keep that wall protected.
Yep.
It's actually unusual to see that much committed to the intrigue challenge here, considering you also
Yeah, he's
rated
only
that
had the
card.
one hand. Only had the one card. That he didn't have to put Cersei in that challenge. He could have just gone with Tyrion.
With 2... Yeah, that's not necessarily the case. When he's got Castle Black, when he's got that much gold open, if that was a practice blade, that would put Sam into a situation where he can
Yeah.
block the intrigue challenge
True.
by himself against Tyrion. So
True.
it is ensuring that he has no options.
Yeah.
It's shutting him down at
Yeah.
every level
Yeah.
for the next turn.
This is the carefulness and the methodicalness of can you even say methodicalness? Well, it's what Jakob does. He doesn't leave openings unless he has to.
Yeah, and now he tosses over enough to have the put to the sword option.
Well, going back on that, considering it a little bit
This is
more.
taunting right now. This is-
Yeah.
If this was a professional sport, there'd be a challenge flag thrown,
Yep.
So,
Yep.
trying to intimidate your opponent. Look what I could turn sideways.
Well, he's certainly considering it. The Hound will be able to. No, he won't be able to win on his own.
And that's probably why the challenge has come back.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we will see. Maybe we will see Rattleshot and the Hound go for the red, right? That would be a 9 power.
Against Castle Black, you still have one of them standing and being able to defend it.
But yeah, but that's the case anyway.
So this is
He can't get. He won't get the unopposed.
He won't
this
get
time.
the unopposed, but with the Hound and the Rattleshirts, he can't even win unless Tamas decides to let him do so.
Oh, but Tamas will have to let him win because he can't kneel both. Oh,
Castle
he can.
Black
Oh
will
yeah,
stand one.
Castle both with. Yeah, Castle Black will stand him. I'm off. Right,
So,
so
we have a military challenge coming through for 16. So this is going to happen.
yeah, which will kneel Aemon. And did he draw into treachery?
I do not believe so.
No, I don't think so. So
So he does not have treachery. He does not have a put to the sword.
this basically gives him. No, he won't get dominance anyway. Not sure why.
But in part of it, it has to be the threat, because while we might have knowledge of his hand, Tamas
Yeah.
is not.
Yeah,
So he
true.
has to continue playing around the put to the sword. He has to
Yeah.
continue considering these options.
So he's defending for 16 only.
He's defending
or for 6. Sorry,
7 with the wall.
with the wall 7. Yeah, and
And we have the Hound
bounces,
back in hand, so he doesn't
we
have
get
to be discarded.
renown.
We have the renown coming through,
Yep.
so
So right now Jakob is at 11, and
he can't
Tamas
force
is down
the
to
power
6.
challenge, and Tamas is going to be taking dominance. So
Yeah, Tamas has dominance anyway with the throne, and a lot of standing characters. Yeah, why not?
we've already seen the wildfire come down, so you could
Yeah.
throw out the Hound again.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
And here he
Yes,
comes, and of
gets-
course this Hound doesn't remember that he's due to leave
Yeah.
from I Never Bet Against My Family, so
No.
he'll happily stick around for the next turn.
Yep.
And wait, no, that was a power challenge we saw
Oh
from
yeah, and this is
Tywin
why.
and the
Obviously
Hound.
it is.
And
Obviously,
certainly
it is.
that
yeah,
was
that makes
us
more
wrong there.
sense. More sense. And now we got 9 military,
9 military.
and that makes it so that Tamas will have to defend with at least one of them to keep the wall standing. He will probably defend with Benyon, yeah, and that's defended, and it is without. He doesn't have gold for puts his sword anyway, but it would have been.
He's got the option to attack back here.
He
so,
does.
so that's valuable for him
So
in terms of keeping that hope alive.
Yeah, he'll get 2 challenges off and still win dominance. He'll get a green and a blue. I don't see
So
any
we're
gold
waiting for the
cloaks.
reactions to winning.
Yeah, I don't see any gold cloaks, and he doesn't have the money.
He has the burn men.
He does have the burn men, but I don't think we will see a red challenge from Tamas.
No, it's going to have to be the power coming across.
Blue and a green. And Tyrion will obviously trigger from the green, but
Benjen leaving. That's,
Benyon leaving for 2 more gold. He's going for the power.
Is that a bit early? But it is going to get him 4. It's going to get him to 10. It's going to get him to double digits.
Yeah.
So
Still keeping up with Jakob.
More for the
Staying in range.
power challenge.
Yeah.
Range challenge.
so it's not actually that far off.
No, he'll be at 11, 12. After this round,
More than that,
Tamas
because
will be
he's on 8 right now. He's going to be taking 2 from the wall, so it's going to put him on 10.
10, and then
2
he'll-
for the unopposed power now, so that's
All
going
right, all right.
to put him on 12, and he's going to have dominance
Is
for
he
13
going
and
to
unopposed
win?
intrigue for 14.
He's not winning this turn,
Not
but
winning this turn, but he's 1 power off.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, he is. He's at 14. And he's pulling one of the 2 hands. He can't know that Jakob is holding 2 hands.
And he's
in
got
his
to be
hand.
very happy about that result right now.
Grabbing 2 more power and then taking dominance for last power.
14. This puts Jakob in a very tough situation.
It
Because
does.
he cannot win himself next turn. He is only on 10 power himself. So 5 power is perhaps
It's
out
not
of his
with
reach.
it seems to be without his reach, but then obviously he could draw into the mountain. There are ways where he could win.
which gives him a renown. doesn't it?
Both Jamie and Mountain would give renown. He is playing a bit of money here.
So he
will
can
be
completely
getting-
ignore the first challenge. That's definitely
Yeah.
relevant. So he only has to
Very-
defend the 2 for the turn.
Yeah, so
If he defends the 2, and even if he loses the power, he's still able to win from the wall alone.
So Jamie might be irrelevant because he needs probably to he'll probably need to shump the red challenge with the rattle shots. He drew into Mountain and Jamie, but he can't afford both, can he?
He will have an additional 5, 6, 7, 8 gold effectively, so not both.
So the problem here is Syrian's
8, 9, 10, 11. He will be able to play characters for
Oh,
11.
we have nothing relevant coming down. No icons from Tamas. That is unfortunate.
This is interesting because he will be playing. He will be taking unopposed challenges here.
And we saw him kneel the faction card, so Dolorous Ed is not on the cards here.
Yeah, I know.
Coming in. So there is still enough
Mountain.
money there for an Ari option.
Mountain or
Ari
Jamie.
discarded previously?
Ari is discarded. Ari is discarded, but he's not killed. I don't think.
So we don't know. Tamas is
Mountain for 5.
certainly providing some excitement.
We've got 4 more goals. Being able to jump the hand. Yeah.
So what is the challenge you sacrifice here to the Night's Watch plot? Considering you need to take the power off him, and you're looking to get the renown
it's
off
gotta
the
be the
mountain,
green
it
one.
has to be the intrigue.
It has to be the green one. I can only see it being played that way. So
And you
he'll-
can toss that out with Cersei,
Cersei,
just
yeah.
get your 2 money, and perhaps have enough money to contend dominance?
I don't know. Maybe. But he'll have to attack with both Tywin and the Mountain at
Right.
some point. So those are the blue and the red challenge, I can only assume.
Right now, the main thing that's going to keep Jakob alive is if he has a treachery for Castle Black. He's only got 1 character
Oh, but he
with
will
the
get-
red and the blue.
For Castle Black, yeah, you're right. Castle
so-
Black needs to be treachered.
So he can squeeze through the unopposed. And with
He
the
will get
mountain counting
unopposed
thrown-
with Tywin on blue. Tyrion on blue. That's almost certain to get you the blue.
So what should be happening here is an intrigue challenge with Cersei, a
Mm-hmm.
power challenge with Tywin unopposed for blue, and then consider his military options, which will probably be Greg swinging across.
And Tywin, he needs the renown. Tamas has
certainly
already
an intense finish from a
Yeah.
game that
Tamas
we
has
almost
already
wrote off.
passed. Tamas has passed challenges, right?
He has no need for challenges here.
Yeah, so he already passed challenges, right?
So it's just how much can be taken
Yeah,
off him in
yeah,
defense and
yeah.
whether or not he can be kept
Yeah.
off that wall.
Yep. And I don't think Jakob has the treachery in hand, right?
The treachery should be less relevant with the power challenge almost guaranteed to go through unopposed.
The power is unopposed, but is the red challenge going to be? Oh, well, obviously he wins the red challenge anyway. Yeah, yeah, it's irrelevant. So he'll get. Jakob is getting what? One.
He's getting 2 power
two
from the unopposed power, which is
yeah,
going to be putting him
and 2
on,
more from
well, then
renown. 2 more
He
from
can
renown.
go to 14 if he wanted to, but he can
Then he won't
go the
win.
distance.
Then he won't win dominance, and we will have another round.
But it looks like we will.
Yeah.
I don't think there's.
That's how it goes. I think. Perhaps you will go red before you go blue and hope to hit a 4-cost character with the mountain, and then you could get an still no
Power's
unopposed.
unopposed
Yeah,
regardless.
it's still unopposed. Yep.
So that's what we anticipate here.
Yeah.
And it's really.
It's intense.
That's the really important thing here is that the classical decks with renown, like with having the lands dotted across, he's always got the option of winning initiative and just claiming it right there
Yep.
in the next round. An option that Night's Watch do not have for
No,
themselves.
not at all.
And you see some playing it with heads on spikes, which gives you the odd shot at actually landing that. But we haven't seen this from Tamas. We've seen
No.
all the plots in his decks over
He
the last
doesn't-
2
he
days.
doesn't run it.
So he doesn't go for he goes for consistent, steady
Yeah.
plots.
Rather than the chance plots. Yep. This is going to be very interesting, but I think what are the plots they have still left? Do Jakob have any high initiative plots left in his plot deck?
What have we seen so far?
I do not remember.
We've certainly seen the Noble Cause, the
Yep.
Calling the Banners,
relevant since
Counting Coppers, the
Tamas not
Famine,
gonna attack
Marched, First Snow. So it's going to be the Race in their midst is the
Race
last
in the
plot
midst,
remaining.
and it's a 0 initiative plot,
1.
right? It's a 1 initiative plot. And here we have wait. So this is the red challenge with only the rattle shirts and
And the Mountain.
mountain.
Only the
Mountain.
Rattleshirts and the
So
Mountain.
it's all right. So it's enough, and he's saving Tywin for the blue to go together with.
He's saving Tyrion for the blue because he can stealth unopposed past the ranging
But
party.
Tywin should go blue as well, right?
Tywin can stand back for dominance.
Why? Well, yeah, he can, and then he wins dominance. But that still, he needs the renown.
What do we have?
So he'll be at 14 either way. So that is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
But it's also denying Tamas dominance, which is an important element here. So it keeps Tamas on 13.
Yep.
So there, even if he
This
could
is-
get the
this-
wall trigger
yeah,
next
no,
round,
that's
it's
relevant.
reducing his options there.
That is relevant. So Tamas is going to be at 8, 12, 12, 15 for dominance. If he kneels, no, Tamas is still getting dominance. Tywin is only going to be at 6, 10, 12.
18 with the gold.
12 by himself, he doubles the value of all the gold
Alright,
he has,
alright, yeah,
which is
of
a
course.
considerable treasure
Yeah.
trove there.
Yeah, 12. So he's at 12 plus 6, so he's at 18. Huh.
And Tamas
But
at 20 with the
yeah,
gold.
so Tamas is still at ahead. Tamas is at 12.
So we're not going to see the end to this round, to the game of this round.
Now at... Oh no, he's got the wall as well, yeah.
So he's
8, 10.
saving
12.
the bird, I guess. I think Tamas is definitely getting the dominance, but
And the bird is going to be bouncing back here. It's going to be looking for something. I don't think he can hold him off renown for the next turn.
no, it's going to be hard.
And one of the Craven's gone. A double Craven is one of the things which could have saved him next
Yeah,
round.
yeah. So here we have Tyrion coming in with Tywin. Yeah, because he's losing dominance anyway, and he might just get that renown. So Tyrion and
he's on
Tywin.
11 at the moment. This is going to be getting him 3 power and kneeling the wall, putting him to 14. So next turn it's going to be a massive renown-laden challenge heading across the board. We already know that the Jaime's in hand. It is going to be, as we have mentioned previously, the boys a swing for renown.
Yeah. And it's just going to go all out red with both of the boys. Or maybe he'd go blue with Tyrion. Tyrion could stealth something relevant, maybe, to stop the shenanigans.
What is the style? Having all the powers of Lannister rolling across the hills. We're going to hear vibrations in the actual building from the weight of those cards coming across. Why do you think Ryback was so huge, who we saw in the semi-finals? Do you have any idea of the weight of those Lannister cards he has to lift?
Yeah.
You don't need a gym membership once you got to turn the mountain sideways.
Exactly. So Tamas took dominance, brings him up to
14 against 14.
again. This is down to the wire, and we know that Tamas will be holding deciding initiative.
Got the bird back in hand for. He has to try to go first, but there's so much power on the other side.
What could he do on that? With that, he can't attack. He can't win a challenge without giving renown. He can't make a challenge without losing it and giving up renown. So
all right. The solution is pretty simple here. He needs a Benjen and a Watchers on the Walls and another Ranger, and there's not enough gold.
It's just not going to happen. He is drawing some cards, and let's have a look at Tamas's hand.
He does have a Craven.
Yeah, a Craven will only pull one of the 2 renown.
And we saw the other Craven getting discarded. And incredibly relevant.
Yeah, and Jaime sitting the board.
Builder last turn was good.
So Jaime gives him that 3rd renown option, and he only needs the 1. I don't think, and Tamas obviously gave first play token to Jakob because he himself doesn't need it. Yeah, I think this is over.
And we're going to be going into the 3rd game.
Into the 3rd game, which is this. It really it shows you still that even with this kind of dominance from the Lannister board, that the Night's Watch deck is at 14.
Yeah, we saw turn 2 end with Lannister having 4 characters to essentially an empty Night's Watch board.
Yeah,
and we're still essentially 1 veteran builder away from a win last turn.
Yeah.
If that bird had been a veteran builder, we
Instead.
would be crowning a Night's Watch champion on the road to Stalic right now.
Exactly. So we see what looks like a completely dominant deck in the Lannister not being able to dominate the Night's Watch. Not really.
Yeah, and you have to wonder how many decks are going to be able to resist the Lannisters moving forward, because much of what we have seen from their new big box coming up is going to diversify them. It isn't just the same boys swinging over for blue like it is.
Definitely new things coming our way in that box. It's diversifying the styles of the decks, and that's what many people have been looking forward to.
So we're looking at the military challenge for 12, 22, 24, 29, 32?
Yeah. So that's... No, it's a blue challenge. He's dividing them up. And yeah, that's probably what I would have done.
I object.
Anyway, so...
He's denying us the theatre of the mountain.
Yeah.
He could totally trigger pillage before renown.
Yeah. So opposing for 4, and that's game. So
We're going
that's our second game. We will be right back with the thrilling last game of this whole tournament. We welcome you to join us for that in just a few minutes.
And we'll see you in about 10.
Yep.
Winter Festival.
Yeah.
And Wall. And Dominance.
That's all we want need.
Yes.
You had a huge crowd. Yeah, you had a really huge crowd. This is one meta game, this is dragging out. Yes, we'll take, you need 10 minutes again?
Okay.
Yeah. I need some air.
Yeah. Let's go for 5 past 12.
Right, welcome back. We see our players preparing for. Tamas is not actually took in his chair yet. You saw him go into the room there. So we are looking at the final game of the final best out of three.
The final table at the Varberg Morghulis at the final Road to Stalek event, and this is really too much excitement for just myself and Victor. So joining us, we're going to have Even from Team West Sweden, and
well, or Scotland is also called, obviously.
West Sweden joining the West English here. Yes.
Right, so
we could have skipped the two games, right? Now let's just do this.
there will be.
It's certainly very exciting, and we tried to ask the tournament organisers to switch the playmats, but
they don't see the unfairness. They are rather considering that Jakob is a member of the cast of the Great Beards and that he wants to have that home field advantage. And obviously that's a bit unfair.
So there is going to be an asterisk next to the victory if Jakob takes it.
I
The
think
incredible
so.
power
I
of
think
the
so.
beard having all been concentrated in a single corner.
I think there will be outrage on the internet over this fact that the tournament is unfair in this way.
So I mean, we've had already had the reasonable outrage against the second tiebreaker, but now we're going to focus on the really important parts of how much beard can you allow for a single player.
Exactly. Not only, as we pointed out, does Jakob hold one of the greatest bids anywhere. He's also on that playmat with what we can only assume is a very photoshopped version of Samuel Linde.
It seems pretty accurate. I mean, the mustache game isn't as on point, but having the diversity of colour is certainly there.
You can do so many things in Photoshop. Right. So Jakob has counted out his 7 cards for setup. Let's have a look, because he says fast one. Let's see what he's got in his hand. Is he going to make a good setup? The Raiders are in hand. He's got double Raiders in hand. He's got...
That has to be the dream opening for him.
No economy.
This matchup.
No economy though.
Is that as much of a concern for jumpers as it is for regular Lannister decks?
I don't know. He is taking a mulligan. Jakob obviously feels that way, so he is taking a mulligan. And we can take a look at Tamas's hand. He's got the wall, he's got Castle Black, he's got Shadow Tower, some economy.
4.
He could set up four locations. And he doesn't have the bird to go with them.
Yeah.
But, well, yeah.
So you'd have some concerns about dropping in Aemon by himself because it's something that Jakob would likely be able to spend his march on.
Definitely.
But if it does that, you can bring him back. Susceptible to first no.
I think having Benyon in the Benyon or Aemon in the discard pile is probably the worst place to have them. Benyon being killed.
It's not a big deal with all the counting coppers, and for Aemon specifically with the here to serve, it's not that much of a concern, and perhaps you could almost take the mark there. But let's see what happens.
Yep.
So we have a show of sportsmanship, and
Jakob is counting out
about
his
to
7.
begin. So what will we see?
So mountain. No, sorry. Hand,
No rattle shirts.
Hound, Jumpers, Tyrion, Mountain, and Reducer.
Decent economy start.
Yeah.
So a good traditional start. We have the Nightmares there for the wall, or
Yep.
for Aemon, or for Benjen.
Yep.
And the Nightmares on Benjen is really kind of something that should have turned the semi-finals, and we didn't see.
I think you'd save a treachery for Benjen, because if you nightmares him, he will not be chosen for claim unless you can put him to the sword.
True.
Yeah, but having that option there, like for all those effects,
Yep.
for seeing that power just shoot up for the Night's Watch,
Yep.
is something quite important.
Definitely.
And we're still yet to see a blue icon from the Night's Watch.
Yeah. But he didn't play his wall yet, so he might not spend any gold on the wall unless he can defend it.
Yeah.
But it's also
The
a
one
question.
strength is nice, but it's not beneficial enough early game.
No.
But it's also a question of where he has to get it down on the table before it can be discarded for
Does he
intrigue.
have 6? Oh no, blue card down.
Yeah. So he's got 2 intrigue icons, which will make it so that he can defend the intrigue challenge. Not block it, not defend it, but block it. And
You can
He's
see a
got
shred.
6 cards. Did he replenish his hand incorrectly?
who?
Tamas, is that
Tamas.
6 cards in his hand?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Am I just blind? Would not be the first time.
We'll have to see as they come down now.
Yep.
So here again we have the interesting meta choice from the first game. So we saw
4, 5.
He's only got 6 cards in hand. So he's 1 card down.
That is definitely 1/6.
should we get a judge?
Judge.
He's got 6 cards in hand.
Tamas is only holding 6 cards in hand. He might have it replenished. Tamas has only got 6 cards in hand.
You're saying that Tamas only is holding 6 cards in hand.
Right, so we have the judge entering the room because you're not allowed to draw too few cards. This is framework things. So you draw into, was that a Watchers on the Wall, I think?
I didn't get to see the card, but it's certainly a card that Jakob was afraid in the previous matchup, and we saw once he discarded it,
Yeah.
the constant fear, double checking the discard pile to make sure he knows what it does,
Yeah.
to be prepared for it, and to see the next one coming through.
So we have, Jakob is marching, and what does Tamas march at this point?
The initiative is quite important here. Jakob would have to make himself first to trigger the here to serve
Yep,
first to get the aim on down, and then the discard would have to go on Ari.
exactly. So that's exactly what he's doing. And then they're marching Ari respectively.
And that's a tough loss to take actually with the 4 gold character. There isn't too many of those.
Losing Harry is worse than losing him.
But
Yeah.
in this case, he couldn't waste the here to serve, otherwise he'd have
Yes.
lost both copies of him.
Yeah, exactly. So he kind of forced Tamas's hand.
So we're certainly seeing very creative plot play from Jakob here.
Yeah.
So he's had 3 different games and we've seen 3 completely different openings. And the Wraith was an ineffective one, but we've seen him really dial in his play sense. And we've seen the
And
here
this
to
is the
serve
mark of-
perfectly countered by the March to the Wall, and it's perhaps something he expected from the previous game.
And this is the mark of a great player like Jakob, that he is able to adapt his play style. His deck is versatile enough to allow him to, and he certainly has the knowledge.
So is he
to
going
do
to
so.
regret mulliganing away those Raiders now that Tamas has started drawing into attachments?
It's hard to say.
We'll have to see what actually comes across. Like you definitely
Exactly.
want to see a Craven on Tyrion here, because then you can keep him off danger money for much of the stuff.
Yep.
We had a glance at Jakob's hand there, and we can see they put to the sword and the mountain ready to jump in for some serious damage to the Night's Watch. So if we can get a Craven
Jakob
or
gets
even a
up and
Milk,
leaves the table here for some reason.
So he's clearly setting himself up for a first no, hard casting those go quotes.
Something happened there though. Jakob is coming back to the table here. Not sure what happened there. All right, so yeah, we see Milk on Tyrion, removing the stealth, removing the trigger, the money grab, what have you.
we're still not seeing any icons from the Night's Watch though.
No, there are only green icons on the table. So
And Jakob does have the option for all 3 challenges going across. And again, like we have to consider the odds here of the wall not being
So
protected.
now he will be able to protect the green challenge with Castle Black.
He's also leaving himself without any good put to the sword targets.
Yep.
Because Aemon can, like you save the bird, and then even if would you spend a put to the sword on the bird? You wouldn't. This early in the game, you're never going to get value.
No, I don't think so.
The birds are annoying, but
Yeah.
it's a bit extreme.
I don't. Jakob is the kind of player that might find a creative use for put to the sword, such as killing a bird this
But-
early. But
Would you go for economy instead? With a steal?
I don't know. I don't think
Or
you'd
would you
use the
grind
put at
through
all at this
to
point.
Aemon's dupe to make him go back to hand on the first no turn?
That seems more logical to me.
Because we could see another devastating first no here. But we already saw the Millich challenge go across with no ill effects. We saw Aemon save the bird.
Yeah.
So
Treachery.
save the economy. Okay.
All right. And that,
But the good old Maester is feeling the treacheries today.
yeah. Obviously, sorry, put to the sword is not on the table. He's only got 3 strength military. He can't make.
With jumpers, you can, yeah.
He got the burn men, obviously.
And like with
That
Jimmy
is a
getting
good pull.
milked,
That is a good pull. Halder is pulled.
So I think we saw Jakob really benefit from the early aggression in the previous game, and
Yeah.
this is what he's trying to push through right now. He's already got the
Exactly.
treachery come down on the board.
Yeah.
He's already setting himself up for a first no turn, which will leave just Amon. Would you use it right now until you've gotten the dupe off Amon?
Perhaps.
Depends what he's got in hand.
Yeah.
He's got nightmares, which could prevent Eamon from saving himself.
Yeah, if there's nothing else there, it could be a powerful play.
Yeah.
Because many of the plots right now for Tamas can't afford his big significant characters.
Nope.
We've seen, in terms of economy, Winter Festival is Winter Festival and Calling the Banners are the biggest economy.
Too early
plots
for
we've seen
Calling
here
the
so far.
Um,
But is there necessarily time in the future? What we're seeing here is his hand is already getting quite rapidly reduced.
Well,
And
Would
I
you go
think
for
from-
famine now?
yeah,
Is it time for
yeah,
famine
I
to keep
think-
this board small?
I think famine could be a choice, definitely. And I think from Tamas's side, he needs to keep his Calling the Banners for the high initiative. He might need that high initiative later. He can't use it now.
I think initiative matters less for him, since he's probably not doing any challenges anyway.
Yeah, but he
and when he's having to
wants,
kneel Amon to
but
defend.
he wants to be able to go second at
Yeah,
some
to have
point.
that option.
Yeah, because if he's going first, he very often just has to pass it, and that's a waste. So I think pulling 3 gold off of Calling the Banners is just not good enough to make him play that.
I think famine is the right call for Jakob here.
Yeah, for
And I
Jakob,
thi-
definitely.
And I think we need to see some economy come down for Tamas. So it probably is too early for Calling the Banners, but I would expect a Winter Festival here.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Shows
Counting
how they
covers.
line up.
Yeah. So we have
And we were wrong across the board.
we were wrong all around. So we have Fast Snow pulling the dupe from Eamon.
This means that Tamas is most likely going to start the next turn with an empty board.
Like it is looking for nightmares on Amon and claim him to military and go from there.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, he will have.
And I
2
don't
gold.
think Tamas has anything to play.
So even with the King's Road, well, he could get a 4-cost character out.
Let's see what Tamas draws into. And he doesn't want to show us some attachments, I think.
We have a
Benjen.
Benjen, we have a Craven, we have a
Raider-
Will, a Longclaw.
Raiders.
Longclaw has really played no part in these matchups.
Will can't be played this turn because he's 3 cost. But he can play the Raiders, or he could play Benjen.
2 Cravens.
Yeah.
That could.
2 Cravens could prove very instrumental, but he doesn't have
also
the right.
because-
He doesn't have the targets for them really.
Well, with
Because
Cersei coming down now, that's definitely going to be something he can
that
use.
is a target. That is definitely a target for Craven. Duped Cersei.
And in case we're seeing here something in Jakob's hand that we don't necessarily show on camera, we're cheating a small bit with the multi-camera work by having one permanently pointed at Jakob's hand after him putting all that effort to conceal his cards from us in the previous game.
Yeah.
And so
So we're really trying to sneak a peek here.
trying to keep you guys on top of the game and keep you in the guessing excitement along with us.
Yeah. So now, marshalling past to Tamas, and what do you
With only
think?
2 gold to spend, he's got no older first hunter, he can't afford anything. So I think we could very easily see a full pass here. And
Yeah.
Amon then,
Craven, obviously, are on the gold cloaks.
it keeps him off military.
Of course, that's right.
There is no additional gold coming in off
Yeah,
Tyrion, so
yeah.
he can't get the burned men down.
But it
Will he do
leaves
it on Cersei
Cersei
as
out. Exactly. Unless he's playing
It
another
must be a
copy
hard
of-
pill to swallow, but
Yeah.
needs must.
needs must, because Cersei he can't take Cersei pulling a 2-claim intrigue on him several rounds in a row. That will put him in that really dire spot he was last game.
Could there be a future point at which Night's Watch could be looking at playing even something like Weapons of the Door to reposition Craven?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps. I mean, in this case,
Why would he lose? Is it going to be green or blue? Try and chip away and stop him running away? Or
so that looks
lose
like
some
a
card?
blue, right?
He's looking at his hand to make the guess.
That has to be the blue challenge, though, from Jakob, right?
Just avoid the risk of Tamas building him too much power early.
Yep.
And we saw the really slow start from the Lannister deck the last
He's
time
going
round.
for green.
Yep. Oh, he went for green.
But I think with the green, he
On a
could have
post.
all manner of relevant cards in hand.
Yep.
Because if he hits the
Yep.
wall here,
Yep.
that becomes very relevant very quickly.
Practice sword. On a
Feels
post.
like a long way away from Tamas being able to afford the wall and being able to use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And that's where we discussed, like, in terms of wall not coming down in setup. It can actually be quite tricky finding the right time to play it.
This is true.
Especially when he's being kept off building up the board by the really aggressive Lannister deck.
Yep. So we're taking a really slow start here. We're 2 plots in, and they have only 4 power between them at this moment. So this is a much slower start than we've been seeing in previous games.
And last game we had 4 power at plot 4. I think
But it was the other way around then. Tamas holding 3, right?
possibly.
I'm not sure.
It was a long day for us as well. It's actually surprisingly intense, like going through matches like this, because you have the constant back and forth. The swings we've seen in this game have really been
So we will
incredible.
see famine from Jakob there, right? Looks like famine. So Jakob is doing the chat points it out as well. Jakob is in full shock mode here. He's trying to restrict Tamas's board like he was doing last time, and it worked for a while last time. Now with Cersei out,
The strange thing with famine is, can Jakob afford a single character with a military spell?
yeah, I don't know.
Does he not still have the
Burned Men?
Hound got marched? So
Hound got marched.
maybe Burned Men. Something
Burn
will
Men.
come
I
down.
think he's got Burn Men in hand.
He'd have to try and jump something in.
Yeah, yeah.
He's had mixed success with that so far.
Indeed. That has not really worked out for him. But I think still famine is probably the right call.
And famine is really kind of pushing the value on the Kings of Winter here.
Yeah,
Once that comes
exactly.
down, we have seen 2 winter plots, like, so that's half a plot effectively taken away from Tamas over the course of just 3.
Yeah.
So it's really just shutting down the options.
Yeah.
It seems like a small thing to have the one goal, but I think most people who
no,
have
yeah.
faced the white tree at this point
Yeah,
can
they
see
know,
that
they know
sometimes
this
just
is,
that.
Yeah, this is making a difference for sure.
And it's something that has to be considered in deck building moving forward, because even if Night's Watch isn't as dominant in the hands of players unlike Tamas who don't play with Night's Watch for months at a time and develop that expertise, you still have to have the income to be able to afford your characters. So everybody has to look at not only being able to pay for them, but having the spare gold here and there to throw away, to have your opponent to take it from you.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. The other cool thing we're seeing here, actually, for some viewers at home, it's interesting to see how the experienced tournament players set themselves up. So with Tamas having 2 separate house cards, he's got one to pile the actual power on, and one specifically for kneeling. And it's the
Exactly.
same thing I saw from Andreas Aldrin, where it makes the board that much cleaner. You're not stuck
Yeah.
of rotating, and it certainly is a benefit to commentators, because
We
we
had
have
issues
been
with
caught
that. We
out
had
with cards
issues with this.
rotating power out of
Yeah,
view.
yeah, we had issues with this yesterday, where Petter facing Tamas as well was we did miscount his power.
Yeah, so with something like this, certainly if you were considering having 2 house cards, the commentators would appreciate it.
Yeah. So we see famine and winter festival. So that is restricting the options for Tamas quite a bit.
King's Road and a wall for Tamas.
Yeah. And that is another dupe for Cersei, and it's an event.
I never bet against my family.
It's the
Is,
Banff event, right? Yeah. And we haven't seen any of those yet, which could bring a surprise mountain. And the surprise mountain is really the best kind of mountain.
I certainly think so. I mean, Mohammed would have said something along those lines. If
I
he does
think
not
so.
come to the
I think
mountain,
so.
the mountain will
Surprise
never
you.
be bet against. Yeah.
It will surprise you. And that's,
And you certainly want to roll those dice. I mean, not just for the excitement for the viewers at home, but yeah, give yourself the chances, because
Exactly.
the same thing we talked about with the tickler or with the mountain, you don't see them hit all the time, but if you roll those dice enough.
So we now have the position that Jakob has no military icons that can attack on the board. He's discarded a Gregor. So the question is, does he have a Gregor and Hear Me Roar in hand already, or is he going to hit the military icon on the Banff?
yeah, the Banff is for free, so there's no reason for him not to play the Banff. obviously
The
the
question
least
is, what,
thing.
what does Tamas expect there now? And with a Ranger and Castle Black, he can actually fend off a decent number of attackers. The Hound, Jamie, he can beat those.
Yep.
A Tywin or a Mountain would be, able
Would be
to
more
push through the
problematic.
challenge.
Yeah, more problematic. So we got Rangers on the board.
And the Ranger party has really been the backbone of a lot of the Night's Watch decks. Is just having that oversized body.
Yep.
Is really,
It's
really
one of the
valuable.
most efficient cards in the game. You pay 4 for a 5 strength character with 2 icons. That is some of the most efficient cards we've seen so far being printed.
And when they have the option to reuse them with the Castle Black, we're looking at a situation where you could easily have them block the Hound, deny that challenge, and
then block.
still have them available to swing back.
Yeah, they are very, very versatile in the hands of a player like Tamas and in this kind of deck. Now Tamas is done marshalling there, and Jakob is going into his marshalling. I don't think we. So does he have a Hear Me Roar in hand as well, Jakob?
I did not see one yet.
He does
His
have.
elusive hand continues to lie face down.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye out for that because he's got a mountain in hand, but he's only playing 3 copies, obviously. 1 in the discard, 1 in the hand, so that leaves only 1 copy back left in the deck, meaning that the Banff is very unlikely to actually hit Gregor. Or pull Gregor, rather
Is
than
he
hit.
starting to try and tease out the ranging party?
I guess. That is the blue challenge, I can only assume.
Well, there could be a green, and he could do a cheeky blue with the cost reducer.
He could.
Yeah, I think with I Never Bet Against My Family, the main thing, the Mountain is not hugely realistic with us having seen 2 of them already. But the Tywin is certainly not out of the question.
So it was a green, and we have Trial by Combat. So we have Aemond saving
There's
something,
no money for treachery.
saving the bird. No, saving something, and then the bird actually dying.
Saving himself, I would guess, in this
Yeah,
situation.
it
Or the
would
ranging
seem.
party, that really makes no difference with no treachery available.
Yeah, no. And then we have a cheeky blue, like you said.
Oh.
It has to be defended.
That makes it a lot more like suddenly Jamie or the Hound can push through that 2-claim military challenge and I would empty the board.
Yep.
So this could be an in-Banff moment.
It is. He's already used Castle Black on this power challenge.
There's nobody to stop with the Shadow Tower because they're not in play yet.
Oh, he passed challenges. He didn't use the Banff.
Interesting.
And we have a blue power challenge coming back, being blocked 7 to something, 7 to 5. And we have dominance for Tamas.
With 1 gold.
Yeah, that's it. So that's
After
it for the turn.
After
And
the massive
we
showdowns we
discard.
saw between the Mountain and the Iron Throne, having 1 goal to take the dominance is certainly a twist in the game.
Yep. All right, going into a new plot phase here. How can Jakob keep pressure now? Which plot? He discarded 1 copy of Cersei rather than actually duping her another
look
time.
at
Did we misread it?
Did he not have in-Banff?
He's put down his hand.
Did 3 of us misread his hand?
Well, that wouldn't be the first time.
No, it would not. But I'm fairly certain I saw one of those bamps being drawn there.
But logically, if he had one, there is no reason for him not to play it once the Castle Black got used on it.
Unless he discarded the previous time.
Or it was a trial by combat and we misread it.
Yeah, that seems like the most
But I'm very certain he said 0 cost, and that's only
It's
bamps.
hard sometimes on this game to...
Yeah, it can be hard to make out. So we got more economy for Jakob being played. We've got Reducer being used.
And with all this, with everything getting tossed across the board from the
More
Lannisters, we're still at
reduction.
4 to 4 power.
This can only be the mountain, right? 3, 4, 5. No, this is a 5 cost. 7.
+2 from
Oh yeah.
Noble Cause.
Yeah, that's the Alt-Art Noble Cause.
This is the time for the third Craven.
Here, this is the time to pull the third Craven, obviously, but I don't think he's got that available to him right now. Tamas will be getting quite considerable amount of coins there. 6, 7, 8. King's Road, 1 coin. That's another ranging party, right? Or is it...
Benjamin.
Is it Benjamin? He's 5 cost, right? So that's another coin in that case. That's Jakob's hand.
Too late.
Yeah. So a couple of more coins being spent.
So we
on
have
something.
Benjamin, Will, Longclaw, and the wall. Is this the turn the wall comes down? It has
just
to
did.
be.
It has to be. Yes,
He
sir.
just did.
He played the wall, but how can you play the wall with King's Road?
No, I think he just kind of played it to
yeah.
clear his mind.
Yeah.
Okay, how many resources do I have
Yeah,
left
yeah,
after the
yeah,
wall?
yeah.
And now he's making a decision.
Yeah.
But it is something to sometimes watch out for, especially with in-faction reducers.
interesting.
I've had
So that
situations
is
where I wasted
Will.
Western Kingdom on a Western Kingdom.
Yeah. So that is Will and the Builders for 3. All right. So he will be getting the wall if he likes. This turn it looks
So at the
fairly
moment,
set.
Gregor cannot push through a military challenge on his own.
No, he can't. He will need some help from the
6,
gold
10
clerks,
from the 2
and
rangers
they can't
and
attack.
Castle Flank.
So this is the BAMF. He's
In
using
BAMF.
it right. So he did indeed
And there is a
have
burn
it.
men in hand.
There is a burn man in hand, yes. I think so. And we have
Fail. Oh.
Tywin. So that is Tywin.
And that's
Another BAM.
trial.
Another trial.
It's good to see those.
Goes to know that those are on the bottom.
So the military challenge certainly looks very
no,
reliable.
no, it's very liable. All right. So,
As Night's Watch boards go, this one is actually pretty safe from the mountain. You only have 2 gold costs down.
Yeah.
Normally you'd see a full range available for him.
yep.
It's still certainly not the chance you want to
Would
take.
he sacrifice the veteran builder to the military claim just in case Gregor hits something better?
I think Will is the one who has to die here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he pulls a card from Jakob as well. It makes slightly more sense, I think. And
But
veteran
it's good
builder.
to have to end your turn where you can look across the board and know, unless it pulls another trick, and I can at least defend a military challenge next turn.
Well, I think he can anyway because he's got no stealth coming his way. I think that the builders defending the power challenge is more important, and the builders at 4 health. With the practice blade, the builders can defend military challenges. It's just a little bit more versatile. It can be used to actually get that wall triggered.
Yeah.
There's slightly more versatility in it, as well as there's a benefit to killing Will, in that you get a pull from Jacob's hand.
And it's interesting seeing the board like this with the BAF. It can always be so confusing because you're looking at it and saying Wildfire is coming next turn, but once you remember that Tywin is actually going to be leaving the board, there is no value in Wildfire as of yet across the table because those gold cloaks are of no value.
No.
Killing 1 cost reducer is not worth it.
not nearly. So we still have to see the red challenge from Tywin and the mountain here, right? He wants to push the mountain through, right?
I think
The
so.
question is whether he wants to win a power challenge. But is that worth it?
Can
Do you
he?
go-
I don't think he can win a power challenge. Tywin's at 8.
If it goes for military with Gregor, he has to defend with both. He
can't-
gets a ranging party back. And
He doesn't
then
have to defend with both. He can defend with just 1.
18.
He's
2
out.
coming across, he's got the 2 gold back
Yeah.
for
But
the put to the sword.
would you let Gregor through if you could? Stop him?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. It's
And that's one of the advantages of being here on the commentary couch is that we don't have to make the hard decisions.
No.
So
And we're feeling the pressure. There you
Put
go.
to the sword. Here he comes. So he's putting Eamon, maybe? No? The ranging party? Who's
You put Eamon to the sword, Eamon
Yeah.
has to save himself.
Yeah.
And
you
then
get a-
Will is going to die to,
Yeah.
to military
Claim.
claim, and then we're going to roll them Gregor.
And he gets an unopposed green challenge now with Tyrion.
Yeah.
Tyrion will unopposed in green.
It's a good pull of Will though, and so Nightmare's gone. It's
Yep.
a card that has been quite
Oh,
Interesting.
very good.
Did he do the builders rather than Aemon? Well, he pointed, but I think he's having a second think. Because killing Aemon is hard.
massive.
That's his only intrigue icon. Ari's gone.
Yep.
It's his only intrigue icon. He is hemorrhaging on the military challenges right now.
Yeah.
His hand is running low. It has to be the Maester.
Yeah, Eamon's got to go. But Jacob is thinking about it because
And
he does. No, it's the builders because he doesn't want to give. Because he would take the wall this turn with the builders. I'm fairly certain.
We saw
He
what
can't
happened
afford to discard them.
We saw what happened last game when he potentially used Benjen one turn too early. So he got almost there, but the following turn he couldn't defend that challenge.
But that also shows us that Tamas is willing to sacrifice characters in order to keep the steady roll of power.
Yeah.
So I think this is the correct call from Jakob. He will be able to
He's such
keep
a small
pressure on the
hand,
ball
man.
state. He will be able to keep pressure on the board state. Seeing the practice displayed also proves
Longclaw.
that. Sorry, that was Longclaw. Yeah. All right, I'll take back.
So that's the renown we've
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
being
yeah.
of no use.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Longclaw is the card he would have wanted to lose out of that hand because
Yeah,
he wants
that
to hold
was
on
the
to
least-
characters now. He's been locked out of
So you
characters
see
quite a
him
bit.
doing essentially a point, well,
That's a power challenge.
just to kneel out his board to
Yeah.
stop him winning dominance.
Yep. Which is correct. Yeah.
So another devastating turn, but the power count is still just 6-4.
Yeah.
So it's still very much something where
It's a
it
very
can
open
turn around.
game. Very
and
open
we know
game.
Tamas still has 2 characters in hand. He's got Benjen in there.
Yeah, Tamas has been in
This
in
could-
way
this
worse
could almost
situations
go-
and
how
come back.
quickly can Jacob get a Razzle Raiders? Because once
Yep.
you get that, that could
Things will start
getting
spiraling.
the milk of Tyrion for stealth. is probably
Possibly
the-
Cersei in
Well,
order
he's
to
got
get
such
that.
a small number of cards. He used one trial by combat. We see a second one at the bottom of the deck. He's
Yeah,
going to pick the third
yeah,
one.
yeah, you're right.
The Tyrion
Unless
is
he
more
gets,
relevant here.
unless he gets the Shadow Black Lane,
Yeah.
he'll go for Tyrion.
Yeah, so here right now, it's kind of a race between the Rattle Shirts and the third Craven. Because if we see that
It would,
shutting down the
it would be.
mountain,
Yeah, that's definitely what's happening. But there are 2 Rattle Shots in the deck. There's only the one Craven left. But then again, Tamas has way better draw.
That is true. I think if you see a Craven on Gregor, those gold cloaks must feel very special.
They would.
They
They would.
warranted a Craven
Yeah.
and we're with these guys.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
special now too.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah,
I mean, you
definitely
might call
so.
us Craven, but look at that guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually the Queen.
His sword is bigger than we are, and
Yeah, yeah.
he's scared too.
Yep. Definitely.
That is a scary old man across the board.
So we got Counting Coppers coming in doubled. Yay.
Counting coppers.
And the Craven against Rattle Shirt race is on.
Yep. So obviously the players are thinking along the lines that we are thinking right now, and they are trying to pull that card that will give them the upper hand.
Now really wants a Old Forests.
Old Forest Hunter would help him a bit.
There you go.
And he
Because
pulled
you
it,
need-
and he got milk for Gregor to keep the fun.
And there's
keep
a
the fun
Varys
from
in
happening.
hand there.
So hear me roar.
This is not a good time to Varys it.
No, it's not.
Not with the mountain, not with
No.
you having to hold on to the board.
But he's got Jamie in there as well, and
is that
Kingston.
Jaime?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Jamie. Jamie could be relevant here. He
It's
would
an extra
certainly
renown.
he would help push the mountain through, often, but he will be milked now, right? Mountain will be milked, right?
Would you spend the milk on the mountain? I think having just that pillage, when you could almost defend it, is something you almost want to save for another renown.
You think? Because the mountain has renown, you know that.
Another renown, a better one.
A better renown, all right.
I think the expert just spoke and said he would milk the Gregor.
Yeah, I think you can't roll the dice with that too many times. You need to keep that
This is a
in
good
check.
turn for Tamas. He
Yeah.
just stabilized with icons.
Yeah, he got
milked
draw
Gregor.
back on. He got draw back on the table.
He still has the save from Amon.
He's got to worry
Yeah.
about what Jacob has
Shadow
in
Black
hand.
Lane is also going to be relevant here because he will be able to defend green challenges coming his way.
Shadow Tower.
Shadow Tower, sorry, Shadow Tower. So that's relevant. So I think that perhaps Jakob is looking to use Hear Me Roar with Jamie in order to push through Gregor. But now Gregor being milked, is he interested in doing that?
Do you need to push him through right now?
Otherwise, he can't.
Without the milk, I'd say he'd probably do that, but
Right now, I think he's able to defend the intrigue, so the Hear Me Roar and the Jamie are safe in hand. He's waiting to draw his rattle shirts, so
Yeah.
I think Jamie is going to be sitting in hand until
Yeah.
the rattle shirts come down to be able to force that through the Hear Me Roar.
exactly. I think he was considering it for a non-milk Gregor to pull the effect of, because it could hit very interesting targets.
Ja, das ist ja.
But
Aha, ja, sehr prof.
with the mountain being milked, they will probably stay in the hand. And he can actually
Moving
hard
around,
play Jamie next
the
turn.
sword. Is he?
It's not impossible, but does he have one?
Well, that's what Tamas must be thinking.
Yeah,
And
but
he's
he
assuming,
decided to roll the dice.
But this is another one of those situations where you have to make him have it.
Yep.
You're constantly being put in that where you can't continuously protect yourself against put to the sword.
He can only protect the put to the sword so many times, and this time he decided not to.
Yeah, and much of the Old Forest Hunter might be a key to the deck, and this is the point where he can go away. He's hemorrhaging cards, he
At the
doesn't
moment,
have
he
it.
doesn't have enough cards to warrant it.
No, he doesn't, and he's got two Rose Royce on the table
And he
already.
wants to win an injury challenge
Yeah,
against
yeah,
Jacob now.
yeah. This is quite routinely what he has to do. This is Tamas being methodical
Or Jacob
again.
could just pass and challenge us and make sure he doesn't lose that injury challenge.
Yeah, and here we see in the hand, the wall isn't duped this time. It is sitting there protecting Benjen against the potential intrigue claim, so reducing the chances of it coming out.
He needs to protect the wall, so he needs to use Castle Black on Eamon, perhaps.
Yeah, this is the
to
intrigue. He
actually
blocks with
win it.
both and then Castle Blacks.
No, he needs to block with. I
That
would
is
only
fine,
block.
That is sufficient.
Because that also gets him in the inside draw.
I would just use. Yeah. All right. Okay. Because he could win the challenge with just Eamon. Eamon's at 3,
Yeah,
and
but he
then
wants
you.
to draw.
Yeah, but he could get that offensively.
He'd have to squeeze it past
No,
Cersei, which is tough.
Cersei's-
Cersei is only at 4, and then.
Which is bigger than any one of his intrigue characters.
But if he has both standing, he can attack with both.
Okay.
Perhaps, but he's still not getting the unopposed power, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he stops that.
Cheeky power challenge.
But he
Even the
could
signature
have
maneuver.
had both draw and actually claim from Jakob. So that's what I'd done. But maybe not.
Okay, so we still have the intrigue coming back across the board.
Yeah.
Now he's forcing Jacob to choose. Do I defend the intrigue challenge or do I defend the power challenge?
And he used Shadow Tower to
And that
make
was to
stop the Champ.
weaponsmith.
Yeah,
Do a
the Champ
challenge.
power. Yeah. So here we go. Green kneeling down Cersei, and
And
then
again, we see Tamas prioritizing power.
yeah, and that's right. Red does very little for him with this board.
Well, he could, you know.
This is absolutely correct. And then he treacheries the wall. Yeah,
I think you've seen in the previous 2 games how quickly that can rack up.
yep. So they are actually at 6-5 now.
We've seen 1 treachery, 2 treacheries and a
2
nightmare.
treacheries and a nightmare, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what Tamas is checking right now. It's
Yep.
looking to see what his countdown is. And Tamas is again looking to be in very fine form. From what I saw in the hand there, I think that's a veteran builder and a Benjen.
I think so, yeah.
He does not want for the watch trap, that's the last spot.
He also wants the option to wildfire Benjen
Yeah.
soon, but losing the wildfire option for the turns to come can also be tough. Because that could put him in a situation where he has to Benjen next turn or not at all.
Pretty much, yeah.
But
Well, he'd actually have to play
If he has a
Benjen
Benjen.
now. He needs to put Benjen
Yeah.
on the table now.
He has to
In
put
order to
Benjen now,
wild
he
for
has
him
to wildfire
in
next
next
turn,
turn.
which is probably looking at Benjen having to leave there. And this could this be another situation where the Benjen leaves a turn too early, perhaps?
Perhaps. So Knight, King's Road on Benjen for another 2. And
Iron
then, yeah.
We still have
the
veteran
Iron-
builder money.
Yeah, but the Iron Throne is better, right? Making sure that he gets that dominance every turn.
At least we know that for once we got the question almost right, since Tamas is pausing to consider.
Yeah, exactly. So we are not always completely out there. We are sometimes close to point.
But statistically, that will happen occasionally.
Of course,
Like,
of course,
pure
of
chance.
course. We're 3 of us. Someone will find something every now and then. Yeah.
And that's the service we provide by adding an additional commentator to increase the correct guesses
Yeah,
to at least
we
once
had to
per
do
turn.
that. We pretty much had to do that, right? All right, so here we have golds galore from Lannister, and he's using none of it to dupe.
Is he now setting up enough dupe that
Tyrion.
he can get to the world where Varys will be working?
Perhaps.
Is this a game that's going to go long enough that Valor actually becomes legal in the middle of a match, and we're suddenly going to see the dupes be irrelevant?
Yeah. It's possible.
It's one of the elements of the untimed rounds that we have to consider.
And definitely, if Valor is released during this game, will we allow for it to be swapped in a kind of a sideboard
comes to
situation? This is Varys, exactly. Just like you pretty much predicted.
It's just a slightly bald Valor, isn't he?
He is. He doesn't kill. He is discards, which is quite important when you have
it's
many.
It's actually annoying with Benjen.
With Benjen, it's bad because Benjen doesn't trigger from it.
Yeah. But at
And-
least you can play him again. That's fair.
Yeah, well, but if he dies, he goes into the deck.
Yeah.
So then you have a larger amount of Benjens in your deck. So putting him in the discard is the best option for Jakob. And if he can do that before Wildfire next turn, he kind of negated the play.
And it's also a fascinating, if a little aggressive way to remove the milk of Gregor.
Opening him up
Yeah.
for BAMFs and other things, if he
He's
could
got
shuffle his
Jaime.
deck.
Yeah. So if he Varys is now,
And then drops Ilin next turn.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's got a good control of the board.
Yep. So Jakob could be in good shape.
If you
Does he know whether Tamas runs Nightmares or not? know.
he cannot
We
be certain.
haven't seen it,
He's
and
not
he
played it yet, and
exactly.
he's seen a lot of each other's decks.
Exactly, he
So
can't
it
be
might
certain.
be that Jakob is quite confident that his Varys can go through if he wants it to.
So if you trigger Varys here, you get rid of Tyrion's dupe, you get rid of the discounts, the gold cloaks. Do you keep the Craven, the Cersei, or do you try to free her up for the potential third copy?
I think you'd keep it and use it for defense, and alternatively wait for the Raiders. There's always that option.
Well, that certainly seems to be a strange play with Varys on the board. With Ilin coming down now, this is not the turn for Varys.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is time for that.
But would you lose both the Mountain and Ilin with only 2 cards left in hand? I think Ilin coming to the board now means that Varys is not there yet, and perhaps is being played for his stealth intrigue to get around the defenders.
I disagree. I think he will use Varys at the end of this turn.
No, because now we can keep with Stealth and Varys can keep with Ilin and Varys doing the double duty. He can always get around his single intrigue icon and kneel out the wall.
Yeah, all right. Okay, I submit.
It's also obvious after you've seen Jakob do it.
Yeah, it is. So this will kneel down Aemond for a period of time every turn, and then
Until a potential treachery or nightmares, which will then take him off
then-
completely.
Yeah.
and then Varys will sneak past Sam
Yeah.
until Tamas draws into Dolor's Head.
Well, we're already seen $1 said
in
discarded.
the discard, yeah, with the
He
mountain.
was discarded with pillage.
With the mountain,
So
yeah.
he did.
He's dead. That dollar said is dead. This is true.
So dollar said is no longer part of the equation.
Nope. So what just happened?
No head for Ed.
He
Isn't that part of the round?
castled black. What's that? That was the
military
that was the
challenge.
military challenge from the mountain. I'm not paying attention to the right side of the board apparently. So
It's a military challenge that he cannot lose. He chose to actually block it to get it in, and I assume that's the Shadow Tower going on Varys now.
yep.
So, what?
So he
Did
can't
we
attack.
forget Tamas's plot there? Or did he do...
He blocked it anyway. He blocked
blo-
it anyway
he blocked
to get
it
the win
to-
and then have the Shadow
exactly.
Tower option.
Exactly. So he shadow towered Varys' intrigue so that he can actually block with Sam, and that keeps the wall standing.
That's what you keep that spare wall for.
Yeah.
In hand,
To,
as claim
as
sake.
claim sake, yeah. And now it would seem to me that Jakob is out of challenges.
Challenges are over and 3 power flowing in for Tamas. This
Yep.
is that puts him on an 8. Do you lose the Benjamin now? Because we know the wildfire is coming. And
I think
What,
Tamas
would
might.
you lose Sam instead? If
Tamas would.
that would be relevant.
and you got
Yeah.
it, Victor.
Yeah.
That's
That was a sacrificial Ellen Payne.
Yeah, and I think since it's a discard, it's fine because he
And
can
you also
he can
have
pull
Jamie to spend
another
his
one.
money on.
Yeah,
You
he's
can't-
got Jamie. He's got a perfect board now.
That's,
I think
it's
I think
hilarious
this
that
is
we come
good.
to think of this as a perfect board.
Yeah, and here we go. This is completely inconsequential. Both plots doing nothing, really, because none of them have enough of a hand to be actually restricted by this.
So that is 4 characters in Tamas's hand.
Yep.
He probably wanted another Craven, some more milk. There you go.
Here's Jamie.
And suddenly the race is on.
Yeah, because
'Cause
Jamie.
he's going to do terrible things. to
Jamie
Tamas's
will.
board.
Yeah, and if he could just shuffle his deck now, he will have Bamfus again because both the mountain, the copy of mountain, the copy of Villain Pain, there'll be enough targets to actually be relevant again.
I still
Ellen
think Ilan
Payne
Payne is
is
something
a-
you'd never want to see with Bam.
Obviously,
Less relevant. It's a
it-
body.
It's a body.
They can force their
Yeah.
challenge, but
It
it's
is
not
still
what
a
you
target.
want.
It's not a
Yeah.
not a complete whiff.
Yeah.
If you pull it.
So
It's this point where you go for
Ranging party.
Benjen or Ranging Party, because Ranging Party is guaranteed to be able to stop Jamie.
Yep.
Even without Castle Black involvement. On the other hand, Benjen is something you want on the board, and again, there's that concern about keeping him in hand and leaving him as a potential target for intrigue.
Yeah.
So you have, is that
We got a builder.
$1 head or the last Amon?
I think it's Eamon, right?
last name on.
It's Eamon.
Okay, last Amon that he cannot right now afford.
No, and he can't afford the Ranging Party. How could he? Is there any way he can afford that?
He's
No?
got 5 gold.
He's got 5 gold,
Yeah.
so he can
So the
afford.
2 Rose Roads are really paying off.
Definitely. So Benyon, I guess Benyon, because that would stop the red challenge.
You probably
Makes sense.
wouldn't sacrifice Benjamin. He needs board presence.
But now,
Gives him an option further down.
now, if Jacob is making a red challenge, Benyon at least gains something. Gives him 2 gold.
So with Benjen, the interesting thing you have here is that you can swing with the power
Yep.
and then force him to lose the military challenge. Or you concede the undefended power.
Yeah.
So you have the 2 characters capable of making challenges. You have no gold and likely no Bamf in hand because we've already seen 2
But
of them. one at the
remember,
bottom of
if
the
he does a power challenge and Benjamin wins, he will Shadow Tower Jamie.
deck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many
So
nice
this
watch
is-
options.
So this is,
That's the intrigue.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And now Jamie for military, which will be defended, and then he
he'll
will
swing
shadow
back with
tower.
a
He will
power
shadow tower
Or will he swing back
Jamie.
with a military?
It doesn't matter. Jamie can't do intrigue again, so yeah.
And that's
Or
it.
does he just pass challenges so he can defend
Yeah.
the military?
I would just.
Well, he can't.
Can he
win.
defend the military? No.
He can defend it, but he won't win it. The question is whether Tamas wants power or to kill a character.
Well, we've seen Tamas prioritize power challenges time and again.
Yeah.
And I think
But now he has the option of killing a decent character. It'll probably be Cersei.
is Cersei relevant right now?
Marginally.
Yeah, yes, marginally actually. Yeah, this is obviously tough because Tamas is thinking, and I think
I feel vindicated.
I think still that Tamas will do the power challenge. This is.
Do we
what
know
the
that
way
the
he's-
challenges have gone to Tamas yet?
Yeah, it has to. He has no valid challenges left. He made the green challenge already with
could do
Still
Tyrion.
military.
considering the military.
Which is, but does it really make a difference?
No, okay, it's
It
gone to
doesn't kneel
Tamas.
the-
Yeah, so
That's
Tamas is making a challenge. We don't know. It's
A,
obviously
right.
military.
Okay.
So that's a 5-5.
That's a dead Cersei right there.
Yeah. And that's a Craven back into hand, which is
No,
Terminal.
the terminal. All right, yeah.
It's, now that would be a bonkers card.
Yeah, that would be bonkers. That would be absolutely broken.
And we've seen some more aggressive Night's Watch decks, and there have been decks coming up which are themselves playing
So-
Famine.
Again, Iron Throne is slowly ticking away,
Yep.
giving those single powers one at a time.
Tamas is ahead with 9 power to 6.
And it's
We
not
did
that far
not expect
behind on
that.
board presence.
No,
4 plots ago, did we?
no, it didn't look like that at all.
But this is a tremendous game for anyone who is saying that there is no combat in second edition.
Yeah.
I think
There is
this conclusively
definitely
shows that
comebacks.
there is no board state from which you cannot come back with the right deck. And there are
And the
decks
right
there
player.
which play out.
The right player, obviously.
I think, yeah. This series of games have definitely vindicated Castlevania. For those who ever doubted that card.
And also, a lot of people have talked about Night's Watch as being a very defensive deck, a non-interactive deck that is just counting their power with Winter Festivals. Look at this game. This is as interactive a deck as you could possibly
Well,
want.
you can still make the argument, because how many challenges have Tamas made over the last 3 games?
But
He's never been shy
that
from,
doesn't
tossing challenges on his turn.
that doesn't mean that he's not interacting.
Yeah.
It's just a different kind of interaction. This
Something
is
as simple
highly involved.
as watches on the wall.
Yeah.
Playing around that.
This is in no way just a ticking clock. He is definitely playing his cards.
I think you could, yeah. If you go for a full dominance Baron Knights Switch deck, which is quite different to what.
Oh,
yeah.
exactly. There are decks like that,
Yeah.
but this is not it.
Yeah.
And you can build Night's Watch decks that are highly interactive, especially with the playstyle of Tamas. And at this level, I have a really hard time seeing a non-interactive deck being able to perform at all against a player like Jakob.
And here we see a tremendous move from Jakob. We have the speculative for Snow coming down to shut down options for Tamas, because even if he draws the third A1, which we happen to know he has in hand, but Jakob does not, he cannot play him, he cannot
Yeah.
play Will, and so many of the options he has available to him simply aren't there. We have the Milk coming down.
So we have the luxury of knowing.
The hands.
Is that one?
Is that 1 goal too many?
I think it's 1 goal too many.
5, 6, 7. No, that's right. Oh yeah,
Mine-
that's a
there's
winter,
a winter
plot.
plot.
That's a winter plot.
And Tamas has 1 goal too many.
Yep, Tamas has 1 goal too many.
Or did we just miss something?
We could have missed something, but they should check it.
It's possible, but we'll get the guys to double check it.
No, Tomas for winter plots.
He did not use.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
Yay.
because he did not use
Okay,
field
we
or
got
anything.
something right. That was our one random right thing this turn. Okay,
No, it's
excellent.
the second.
This turn.
Oh, this turn.
Yeah.
We got one last game as
Yeah.
well. So we're staying at 1-0.
Yeah, and we're really pushing kind of the boundaries of what commentary can do right now, commentating / judging, and
Yeah. All right. let's actually look at what the options are here, because Jakob is considering his challenges here. He can make 2 of those, but they are blank cards with shields and icons.
I mean, you
And Great
surely
Heart.
do a green
Yeah.
challenge with Tyrion just to kneel them.
I guess you have to, right?
you have to wonder, what does he have in hand to actually drop in, because losing the military here could be pretty
Yeah, this is where
devastating.
you see that doing the military last
But he
turn
can't
is
defend the
now
military anyway. He can't defend the military anyway.
No.
So he's going to lose the military challenge. He,
Is that the last Craven? What? No, that's checking the discard pile.
yeah, that was checking this card.
Getting too excited there now, Ben.
Jakob, does Jakob still have any bouncing things in his hand? Too slow.
And you held them upside down just to cheat us.
Yeah. This is the way he plays.
He's gone for hard mode.
Yeah, and this really shows the experienced player he has. He's familiar with the cards upside down, inside out, back to front, something that we aren't quite
That
there
would
yet.
be an interesting way if you put the cards back to front in the sleeves and play.
Yeah,
See if you can figure it out.
Yeah, I've actually tried that involuntarily.
Was that in legal deck list?
Yeah, involuntarily. and I can assure you all that it did not make the deck better in any way.
That's a bold statement. I think I'd have to try it myself before I can judge.
Right. So back to Jacob's decision making here. What is going through his mind, do you think? Because does he even make challenges? I think he needs to make a green one. I could even see him make the green challenge with Jamie in order to be able to oppose the blue challenge.
But without
Who would you kill though? Would you kill Jamie or Tyrion? That's the
Oh, that's much trickier.
yeah. So if he was gonna kill Tyrion, then Tamas would just start with the military. And
So he's making the green challenge with Tyrion, unopposed,
and that's the final aim on.
pulling Aemon. That's a good pull, but we are seeing the board state swing
massive.
in the other direction here, where
And he's
Tamas is
going red
ahead.
just to
Well, the Castle Black is still open,
yeah, so you
but
can
this
just
is.
ranging party and two challenges.
I don't know why he's doing this red challenge.
Is this going to be a Varus backfire?
I don't know.
Does he have treachery? Is that what is?
Even with treachery, the ranging party can still block Jamie. We know that there's no.
It's more whether that means that he only gets one challenge.
Is he bluffing a Widow's Wail here? Is
No,
that what?
he's got nightmares.
Yeah. So
But Nightmares on Castle Black, the +1 strength from.
No, he
Still-
nightmare.
So he doesn't get to
Castle Black,
stand.
So he's only get to do either military or power.
Okay.
Exactly. So he's.
But we're gonna see the last of Tyrion here,
Yeah. I
unless
think
there's
so.
a Burn Man coming, which I have not seen.
Well, there is the possibility that Tamas,
Not having
just
a-
because of the threat of the Burn Men, he might just go for the blue challenge. And that would be in style with the way Tamas has been playing. That
He's now
he
counting
grab- he-
Burnman and go close, I guess.
that would be very highly likely. But I think still,
So
even
he's only
even
seen
even
one of each
yeah.
in the discard pile.
And I think still Tamas will go for blue here. It's
Nah, this is where I wish I
consistent
could
with
listen to what
his
they said.
consistent with his play style. Yeah. Ha! No, that's
Take
the
that.
that's the red challenge.
And yet again, so it'd be too much if we were right twice in the turn.
Yeah, I can't possibly.
This was actually kind of baffling. Almost every time we had a 2-against-1 decision on what would happen. The lone wolf has been corrected.
Yep. All right,
So
so
now
we
at
stand and we're at 13 to 7. Benyon is milked at this point, so Benyon is
And Wildfire is
inconsequential.
trapped.
And Wildfire is trapped. So Benyon is inconsequential
Well,
in that
he's
regard.
a- yeah, he's a decent body.
He's still a ranger with 2 icons and 4 strength.
So do we see accounting coppers here from Tamas?
We
Just
do.
looking
Yeah.
for
I'm quite
any
sure of it.
intrigue icon.
Yeah, I'm quite sure of it.
And he's got 2 money. He can play 3-cost character.
Yeah,
And he's got
I'm
fealty.
fairly certain he will.
And it's 13 to 7.
But what
even if he
green
doesn't-
icons
Or
does
just
he
go
have?
defensive and go for the watch.
What are
Forcing
the?
basic. Well,
I'm going with counting coppers.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
and
it
I
seems
think
like the safest because if he went for the watch and he dropped Jacob dropped an intrigue icon.
yeah, that's the counting coppers. But there's
Yeah.
a double counting coppers.
we
But
need
what?
options. We need
what-
options quickly.
Yeah.
But
I think
what
like,
is he actually be? What could he possibly pull in the likes of green icons? Because Dolorcet is dead. We're
Take that.
at,
Sam was discarded.
I would think
Sam is discarded. Yes.
I don't believe Sam died.
2 copies of Sam has
does
been
he have
discarded.
any more cost users, stewards?
Oh, the reducers. We're only seeing 1 or 2 of those. So he could pull a reducer here.
And you can see Tamas building excitement for himself. The cards he drew, he did not look at them.
Yep.
This must be getting really real for him
How
right
can
now.
he have calm hands at this stage? Oh, that was a timely Jamie.
Yeah, that was-
At least he's not going to have an empty board at the end.
Exactly.
Or did he pass marshalling?
But he can't afford to lose the power.
No.
Yeah. Or anything.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh,
And we can
there's
see
the
the last
So
Craven.
that's the steward. And is that the Craven? He's got the
Hey!
Craven. Wow. So that's it.
Unless
the
there was some
there
jumping.
might be a jumper in hand. There might be the hound can't be
Has to
played.
be a very large
The
jumper.
hand
What
can't
is-
be played.
Is that drawback combat?
That is.
Drawback.
That is the
that
end.
is
Nice
the
watch
shape.
win.
That is the shape. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Tamas, Varberg, sealing the deal in the third game, and what a game it's been. I'm so happy to have been able to watch and commentate on these three really tremendous games.
That is a Barry that we'll be talking about for a time to
I think there will be a lot of opportunity to analyse these two games in so many.
No speech for you. Let's go to Moldtown. Yay!
So that will probably be it from the stream today. We're checking out from here.
We might have some interviews coming up from the players, but that's probably
Alright.
going to be loaded up later on. So we'll have to
onto
see from the
the-
tournament organisers to see what can be put together.
So we'll get back to you on whether or not we have anything more for you today. But most
you have any
likely we're
questions
signing on.
from
I don't see any questions here from the chat. So I think, do you have anything that you want to plug?
No, I think for now we just got to thank the organisers of Varberg. We've got to thank Deckbox as the premier store in Sweden supporting the hobby, and we've got to
Exactly.
thank the players for an incredible show that they let us watch.
I can't really stall the opportunity. I have to technically plug the
Yeah, with
Nordic
prices.
Nationals coming up the 24th and 25th of September in Stockholm, and I hope to see as much people as possible join us there for more Game of Thrones as well as Conquest and Netrunner. It will be held in the Globen area of Stockholm, just next to that large venue. So please do show up for. We will be having this kind of coverage of it as well. At least you might hear my voice at least again, commentating all of those three games, I suppose. So please do check back with us here at EGOT Nordics and other places we might be plugging for that. So that's me, Victor Edstrom, signing off, and together with
I think that's us. So
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure commentating for you guys, and Ben
Thanks
Fox
for
out.
listening and watching.
goodbye.